listening to. Okay? How was your night? Any good dreams? Do you remember your dreams, by the way? I used to keep a notebook by my bedside so that when I get up with an interesting dream, I quickly write it down, even in the dark. Yes.
Even if it's not.
Yes. My good thing is around 4 o'clock. Good ideas around 4 o'clock.
4 o'clock. The best thing I do before is fall asleep. Not anymore.
Okay.
But here we are, just because of you, so that we can be here in time to serve you breakfast our style on GTV. The hashtag is GTV Breakfast. We're proudly sponsored by Awake Purified Mineral Water, Shield Acrylic Paint, and Adonko Next Level Energy Drink, giving us all the energy we need this morning to bring us all that we have planned for you today in this a la carte breakfast menu.
Talking of a la carte breakfast, yesterday I was initiated by Val and T into Kinky. Call me Kala. Hot Kinky right here. I loved it. I loved it. It was just on point.
It's our kind of breakfast.
I love that. A la carte. A la carte. So today for breakfast, we're not sharing Kinky with you, but we're sharing lots of good conversations. Okay. So math and science people, those of you who hated maths and science, well, what was it like? And the teachers who didn't make it easy for us to love the subjects. Now we are regretting. STEM is a big topic today. Science, technology, engineering and mathematics. And T, you're looking forward to have that conversation?
Yes, I am looking forward, because we have some of the best in the industry. I mean, we put the infographics out there, the group will be around, and they'll tell us more about how it's helping change lives, change institutions, change industries across the country, and what they themselves have benefited from using STEM education to apply into their various fields of work and in their lives. It would be an interesting conversation. And I hear you are sitting down with the rent people and that the landlords are in trouble.
Yes, so this is only for landlords and tenants.
They won't like that.
Okay, so what is your story with rent advance? As a landlord?
2 years.
As a tenant? What's your story? I'm talking I hear 6 years. I hear 3 years. I hear 2 years. Has anybody paid 6 months rent advance in this country?
Not
Does anybody pay monthly? I'm curious. All right, so that's a conversation on rent advance today.
Send us all those conversations, those comments, those questions to our social media platforms. The handles are on your screen right now. Follow us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, follow us on Instagram, and also on YouTube. We're everywhere you go. And of course, after the show, catch the hashtag Yellow Couch Moments, which we paste on our Facebook platforms, and you don't want to miss it. Today we'll start off with our motivational message. We'll be out there monitoring traffic around the Dodo or Yarafa area, Shaiman area as well. We'll be keeping an eye on several things, and you don't want to miss this, because today, Valerie.
I like that.
Hello guys, good morning. Welcome to this side of the breakfast table. My name is Valerie. You guys, you remember when we had proper Ghanaian content in our movies? Like, we didn't have any of these telenovelas, and we actually look forward to a particular sick tune every Sunday. Before you know who we are going to talk to later on in the show, let's take a quick break. Listen to a little something. Maybe it will refresh your minds on who our guest will be later on. So, if my producer is on point, here it comes.
There you go.
Okay, enough. Right, so I'm sure this has been to none other. We call him in the media circles Inspector Bediako, but in real life his name is Oscar. We'll be talking to him and talking authentic Ghanaian content. Follow us on our social media pages and follow the hashtag GTV Breakfast. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook, and send your comments and questions you would like to ask Dr. Inspector Bediako. I beg your pardon. And remember, this is made possible by Awake Purified Water, Shield Acrylic Paint, Adonko Next Level Energy Drink. Back to you guys.
Okay, fun fact. So I'm not sure whether Val and T know this, but Oscar's mom and my dad were in the same class in secondary school years ago, and I understand my father used to make eyes at Oscar's mama Yes.
So you're almost his
He just made. I think my father had POD. He couldn't tell her. He couldn't tell her anything meaningful.
So you could have been Oscar's.
Could have been his, I don't know, brother. But that's a conversation in the last hour of the show. Starts at 9 o'clock. Now, do you know how to promote other people, or is it only about me, and nothing about anybody else? Here comes Dr. Kofi Osei Kusi on learning to promote other people. Catch us on the other side for the weather and the social media trends. Really hot ones. Don't go anywhere.
It's a phenomenal morning to you. Good morning to you. It's always an honor to come your way again with the wisdom nugget for today. And as I always say, a nugget a day, that's what? Answer, a nugget a day, that's what? A nugget a day keeps the problems away. If you keep taking these wisdom nuggets, you're going to drive a lot of the problems in your life away. Hey, today my nugget is learn to promote other people. Learn to promote other people. Maybe simple, but I think it's quite deep. I remember once interviewing a gentleman on my TV show several years ago, and in this interview, there was something the gentleman said which has stuck with me for several years now. And what he said to me was, hey, you know what, one of the secrets to his own life, and he is such a significant leader in the United Kingdom, he said to me that one of the secrets of his success in life was that he learned very early to promote other people. Have you been in a position where, you know what, everyone was going ahead, getting ahead, and you were stuck behind, and you struggled a little bit, to really, manage your own emotions? Example, a situation where all your friends are getting married, or all your friends have gotten married, and you want to get married. How does it feel when you have to attend all of these weddings? Have you been in a workplace where everyone is promoted and you are left behind? How do you handle a situation like that? Have you been caught up in a situation where everybody seems to be getting ahead and only you seem to be left behind? You may naturally begin to feel a little bit jealous or begin to have all kinds of negative thoughts in you. But what I learned from that friend of mine was that when you find yourself in situations where other people win and other people begin to succeed, learn to be the first to celebrate that person. Learn to be the first. Learn to be the first to congratulate that person. And when you do that, guess what? Bigger things are going to come your way. Yes, sometimes it can really be difficult. I remember many years ago when I completed Presec Legon, and after Presec, a lot of my class, and not a lot, a number of my classmates, got a chance to go to the United States, and the UK and Germany and other places for further studies, and I was still here. I had gone to write all of these TOEFL exams and everything else, and guess what? I was here and everyone was going, and sometimes it's so painful. You begin to ask yourself, why am I here? And sometimes even for the slightest of things, we can feel so low of ourselves. But guess what? You don't need to go through that. When you see other people going ahead in what seems like the progress for their lives, don't feel low and don't try and manage your jealousy. You know what? Be the first to celebrate them. I can tell you, people may have gone all over the world, but even for those who may have stayed here and who have done other things, you realize that in many years' time, they were not so better off than you. And that's the same for you. Don't feel low when you see other people go forward. Be the first to celebrate them. When you lift other people up, you can never stay down. It's not possible to lift other people up and stay at the bottom of life. And so the next time somebody gets something that you don't have, don't feel jealous. Clap for them, push yourself, and be the first to celebrate them. Celebrate them, because as you celebrate them, your own good things are going to happen to you. And whether people like it or not, as you celebrate other people, good things are going to follow you and going to come your way. This is a simple nugget for you, but guess what? It has the power to catapult you to the top of life. I wish you a fabulous day. I wish you an excellent day. Keep smiling, because good things are coming your way. Expect good things today. Expect good things your way. Expect great things as you celebrate other people's successes. Hey, enjoy your day. Have a fabulous time. God bless you.
God bless you, Dr. Kofi Osei Kusi, for that motivational word for the day. Definitely worth celebrating other people. So a popular saying I've heard is, until it's your turn to receive the blessing, just praise God in the corridor. So that's a good one to add on to Dr. Sekusi's motivational word for today. Let's see what the weather should look like today in your locality. Thanks for staying with us. It's hashtag GTV Breakfast Live on GTV, and we're live on Facebook, so you can catch that stream. Follow us on our social media handles. We appreciate our sponsors: Awake Mineral Water, Shield Acrylic Paint, and Adogo Next Level Energy Drink. We're doing social media trends, and yesterday we spoke about the priest who had, I now call it, sexually harassed some women on a stage at the St. Monica's College of Education, and there was public outroar on social media, in conversations on platforms across the country, and immediately there was an announcement that an investigation was going to be launched. Yesterday we got word that he has been fired. So that's the statement there on your screen. Been relieved of his duties. Surely, welcome news.
Yeah, you know, I was surprised to hear that he's also a lawyer for the college. You know, it's not just a priest, but he's a lawyer as well. And this behavior was just out of line. I remember Michelle Hammond saying that no, he should be taken out of the system immediately. There was uproar. I saw Van Vicker talking about it. So many people, CSOs, everybody was just in uproar. There were a few people who were actually defending this champ. And I'm thinking, if this were your daughter, or your girlfriend, or your wife, because we're not talking of SHS kids here. This is College of Education. These are adults. Yes, and to be violated like this, you know, of course, some people also making fun of it. Oh, I'm feeling bored. Anybody to give me a holy kiss? You know, social media has all these.
It's not funny.
Yeah, it's definitely not funny at all. And we'll see what happens after this. I mean, just after relieving him of his duties, what will happen next?
So the other thing people are asking is the communique said they are going to launch an investigation into it. What are they going to investigating? If he's committed, what exactly?
Is there a trend? Is this a one-off, or has this been happening? Because I've seen conversations. You can't verify those conversations from students in the school who say,
who've sent it.
Yes, that he gets people to sit on his lap, and then he uses suggestive language. You know, one of them being, let's take a reading from Shua, and it's Shua, now you know what you're talking about. Yeah. So he's using all these this suggestive talk and kissing people, putting them on his lap. You know.
But those who are, defending the act, we should ask ourselves why. Why is it that when religion comes up, it sort of clouds everybody's judgments? Like, oh, he's a holy, so whatever he does. I mean, we've seen trends past few years where holy men have done things that maybe the next Sunday we should even see people in their auditoriums, but we see that the auditoriums get full.
Have you read Murder in the Interest of the Church?
No. So that's by who
there's a book. I'll find it for you.
Okay.
So on the point you made about atrocities caused or committed by men of God, we forget that they are men first. They are men first. We are human first. So our human tendencies sometimes get the better of us. And if we are religious people, we should know that without that without that what Christians call grace, you can't even aspire to be any kind of righteous or holy. So I mean, let's leave the conversation of holiness aside without the power of the Holy Spirit. You know, Holy Spirit will inspire you to kiss other people's children, other people's sisters, other people's partners, on the lips in a pandemic.
And you know what really is upsetting and gets everybody on the edge is, you know, the last lady. You could tell that she was like cringing, like stopping him and still forcing.
And the congregation is just jubilating. You know what, guys? Yesterday I became very emotional over this story, and I went into a screaming match with people in the office because people thought it was fun. There's nothing funny about it. It's sexual harassment. Let's call it what it is. And then I saw online portals saying, "Oh, sexy priest." Don't glorify it. Don't glamorize it. It's sexual harassment. You shouldn't do that.
Not cool.
Two things I want to say about this before we go.
Quick.
Some Catholics are actually happy that it wasn't a Catholic priest, which I thought was really odd. They say, well, most of the time you have Catholic priests who are involved in sexual harassment.
See what I said?
They are happy that they are relieved that it's not. It's not.
Okay. And the second point.
And finally, you see, I think most of these people are now gods of men, and we've made them gods, or not men of God. We've made them gods of men. We have to just think clearly. If the guy is saying something that you should do, bring a cutlass to the church to come and kill your enemies, bring fire, eat whatever, something strange. These are we've made them gods.
Yeah,
they're not men of God.
I mean, another thing that as a nation we are also really passionate about is football. Yay! And so yesterday there was a draw. Why is Valerie looking like anytime I talk about football? Valerie just
is Messi coming again?
No, he's not playing for the Black Stars.
I'm waiting for your commentary.
And unfortunately, Argentina is not an African team, so we are not in the African competition. But yesterday there was a draw in Cameroon, and we saw Ghana drawn in Group C with debutant Comoros, and then Morocco, one-time champion, and then Gabon. Yes. Are we excited for the prospect?
Okay.
The tournament is next year in January and February. So Group C, that's us. Morocco, they've won once in 1976. They were runner-up in 2004. Of course, Ghana, everybody knows, we've won it 4 times, 63, 65, 78, and 82. So Ghana hasn't won the African Cup of Nations in my lifetime. It doesn't mean you should calculate how old I am, but in 1982, I wasn't here. So that's all the groups that were drawn yesterday. And top favorites, Valerie?
Top favorites? Are you serious? Ghana.
Okay. Okay, and your impressions about the draw?
Yeah. So we were having a conversation when it was released about...
When was the last time you saw DJ Drogba?
Without the Jerry Curl.
Oh.
This is beautiful, though.
He shed the Jerry Curl.
So for people like me who do not understand the importance of these parents. I, for instance, yesterday in the newsroom, I was telling a colleague of mine that I think Ghana, I mean, they've already put it in. So in our group, for instance, we have, I know the two who's going to qualify. So it's going to be Ghana and Morocco.
You know.
Based on what?
You know, based on what?
Because I think that Ghana, Morocco, Comoros, Gabon. So that's why I'm saying that. So for the purposes of people like me who do not understand this, can any of you tell us exactly?
No, that's exactly what I've said.
What it means.
Morocco has won it once. So if we're trying to think of our prospects, I'm tempted to understand where you may be coming from to say that Ghana has a good chance of qualifying, considering Comoros, they are new to the game and they don't have any AFCON experience. But also remember that Asamoah made a profound statement yesterday. He said all the teams have qualified to these group stages. There's 55 or so countries in Africa, and 24 are in the tournament. It means you worked to get there, and everybody is in there to win it. So we cannot rely on past glories like a certain English club that hasn't won a teacup in 70 years, thinking you can win it.
Like Ghana, who haven't won the AFCON since 1982, when Jerry Rawlings was Chairman Rawlings, PNDC. None of you guys were born.
No.
Most likely, nobody in this studio was born in 1982. Except one guy in a suit wearing a blue tie with a beard.
That's a king cap.
But I like the people who were doing the draw. So you had Rabah Majer, I think of Algeria, Didier Drogba of La Côte d'Ivoire, there was Samuel Eto'o of Cameroon, and then Asamoah Gyan. And Asamoah Gyan was described as a legend.
Asamoah Gyan is trending this morning.
Whether you like it or not, whether he missed the penalty or not,
against Uruguay,
whether you think he should just be playing football and not dancing, he is a legend, and we have to promote him.
We are proud of him.
Big him up as
We
such. So
are
respect,
proud of him.
salute.
He's Ghana's all-time top scorer.
51 goals, 109 appearances. I mean,
See what you got for them.
Aja, we are back on.
Baby Jets.
Baby Jets
Champion.
in the
Baby Jets
Yes,
himself.
yes.
Congratulations to you, Asamoah Gyan. Definitely a legend. We all have highs and low moments in our lives, and he's certainly had his,
Too
and
much, too
we look
much.
forward to further exploits from
Too much.
the top scorer.
That's what we're talking about.
Great dribbling skills there by the Baby Jet. We're so proud of you, Asamoah Gyan. And we wish you well at Legon Cities, where you're currently based after traveling the world playing football and making your nation proud. We are proud of you too here at GTV Breakfast. There's so much ahead. Very soon I'll be sitting down with the Minerals Commission to continue that conversation on the local content in the minerals industry, in the mining industry. Last week we heard that we could save upwards of $400 million if we allow the local companies to take part in some aspects of the mining business. We'll continue that conversation today. Still ahead in this program, we'll talk about rent, and we'll talk about rent advance and what landlords should do and what tenants should do. All that conversation, CAP will have that sit down. I'll be engaging some top experts to talk about science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, STEM education. You don't want to miss that conversation. And who knows, the inspector might have something to investigate when he comes to the studio later to have that sit down with Valerie. It's a packed show. We're serving you breakfast a la carte, our style. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Live from GBC Studio 1, this is the Breakfast Show. Coming live from
Thanks for staying with us, and you're still watching Breakfast on GTV, hashtag GTV Breakfast. Follow us on our social media handles on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We appreciate Awake Mineral Water, Adonko Next Level Energy Drink, and Shield Acrylic Paint for partnering with us to bring this program to you. My name is Thelma Taki. In this part of the program, we are focusing on mining, and part of Ghana's mining regulation gives Ghanaians the sole right to operate in key areas in the sector, such as small-scale gold mining and local content. In today's time with the Minerals Commission, we are looking at local content and the opportunities for local participation in our mining industry. And for today's edition, we'll look at the contribution of the local content and how they can participate to improve the economy of Ghana, and challenges, if any, as well as the outlook for this policy. I'm here in the studio with Mr. Collins Senim Saki, Director, Policy Planning and Mineral Titles of the Minerals Commission. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us.
Thank you for having me here.
Last week, we had the opportunity to talk about which specific areas local companies can get access to when it comes to mining. And I remember we talked about fuel and catering and haulage, and I think security as well.
Yes.
And he made us understand that we could save upwards of $400 million if we keep these businesses in our shows, or on our shows. So he gave us ideas about what specifics Ghanaian companies could get into, and the fact that they could partner other companies to even make those services available on the local front. And I remember that at a point I wanted to ask him, it sounds like a clear-cut plan, but I'm not sure it's as straightforward as it may seem to some. So what could possibly go wrong with local participation, local content in our mining industry? What challenges would there be?
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me here. As my acting CEO told you last week, there are certain services which have been reserved for Ghanaians under local content. I think that is one good thing about the local content regulation that we have for the mining industry. And you rightly mentioned some of the services, which include provision of security services, catering services, haulage services, supply of fuel to the mining industry. These are reserved for Ghanaians, and there is no way that an expatriate or foreign-controlled company will be allowed to provide these services to the mining industry. And as he rightly put it, it is true that hitherto, before the passage of the regulation, all these services were being provided by expatriates. I mean, security services were being provided by expatriates, haulage services being done by expatriates, catering services being done by expatriates, and then haulage service also being done by the expatriates. We are enjoined by law, the regulation, that the Minerals Commission should publish what we call the local procurement list annually. And this local procurement list should contain items, goods and services that we believe can be provided by locals in the country and should be procured by the mining companies. We started off with 8 items. We increased it to 19, and now as we speak we have 29 items on the local procurement list. Now the law also enjoins mining companies to submit what we call 5-year procurement plan to the Minerals Commission for approval. In submitting the 5-year procurement plan, the companies are required to take into account the items that we have on the local procurement list. So what it means is that once you submit your plan and it is approved, and you indicate in your plan the proportions that you are going to procure locally, if you fail to do that, it means that you breach the regulation and you can be sanctioned. We have data from 2014 to 2019 on how the mining companies performed in respect to the implementation of their plan. And as he told you, from let me look at the total procurement list. Now, from 2014, about 183 million were spent by mining companies on procurement of 8 items, which were on the list at the time. The list was increased to 2019. So as at 2016, the total procurement by mining companies in respect of the 19 items with 394 million. Now, as at 2019, that is 2 years ago, we had 29 items and about $1.483 billion were spent by mining companies on these items. This is the total procurement. Now, I will narrow it down to how much was spent by local companies that are in country and are providing these services to the mining industry. In 2019, out of the 1.46 billion, about 1.156 was spent on local procurement in the mining industry. If you want the specifics, if I pick catering services, about $25 million was spent on provision of catering services to the mining industry in 2019 only. If you pick security services, $13 million was spent on provision of.
So with all these figures, how much comes to government of Ghana to support economic activities? And I'll come back to my question on what the challenges have been, because we haven't touched on that yet.
So that will be payment of corporate income tax by these companies to the Ghana government through the GRA. And once these companies employ Ghanaians, definitely they are going to pay their state contributions. There will be payee to government, that is the income tax paid by these employees to Ghana government. So that is one of the reasons why we believe that it's important to have companies in country providing such services to the mining companies, rather than having people from outside the country providing these services. You asked about the challenges. Yes, implementing local content is not easy. One of the challenges we find that we do not have a lot of industries in country to produce the inputs that are required by mining companies. So what happens is that we more or less having a situation where locals will import the items into the country and supply to the mining industry. There is a challenge there. Assuming that we have a lot of local industries, a lot of industries established in country, then we will not be in a situation where suppliers will have to import and supply to the mining industry. There will be direct supply to the mining industry. So the situation we find ourselves puts us in a situation where we seem to be glorifying imports, and that is not the best. We've also had the issue with the suppliers when it comes to the delay in supplying to the mining industry, the lead time delays. There have been a lot of complaints from the mining companies on these local suppliers failing to supply at the time that they are supposed to supply to them. Of course, let me also say that there have also been some infractions on behalf of the mining companies in paying these suppliers on time. There are some contractual arrangements to pay these suppliers within 30 days or 60 days for supply of this item. But we've had instances where it's taken about 90 days and these suppliers will not be paid. And these are also, I believe that these are challenges that we need to look at.
And how are all these managed by the Commission? Because I'm sure that people make official complaints, and then how are they handled?
Thank you very much. We engage suppliers a lot. At the end of every year, what we do is that after the mining companies have submitted the plans for the implementation of the local plan, we evaluate the performance of the mining companies in respect to the procurement plans that have been approved for them to implement. At that function, we engage all the mining companies and let them know the shortfalls. We also engage suppliers and let them know their shortfalls. We engage to also know the concerns that these suppliers have and then carry it on to the mining companies.
And what are we registering in terms of numbers? So to say, how many Ghanaian companies have been registered, and how are they effectively contributing these to the provision of these services to the mining industry?
Thank you. I think as we speak now, we have about 90 companies that have been registered with the Minerals Commission to provide services to the mining industry, varying services. There are those, apart from the provision of catering services and others, there are other services that are open to everyone. It could be provided by foreign companies, it could be provided by Ghanaians. And there are some Ghanaians who are also providing such services as well. All put together, we have about 90 companies owned by Ghanaians that are providing services to the mining industry.
Last week, when I spoke to your acting CEO, we talked about human resource and the education or the training avenues available to make sure that the local market has enough to provide these services, and even if possible take over some of the ones that are out that can be done by expatriates. How is that development system working out?
As part of the regulation, I think we have dealt with the procurement aspect. Now let me move to the human resource aspect as we just asked. Mining companies once again are required to submit localization plan to the Minerals Commission. In the localization plan, you indicate the positions that are available in your company for the execution of your task. You need to also identify to us these positions, which ones are occupied by expatriates and which ones are occupied by Ghanaians. The law says that there is a threshold of expatriates that you can have depending on the total senior staff that you have in your establishment. And for those who have mining lease, that is those who can mine, it is 5% of the total senior staff. What this means is that if you have 100 senior staff, you can only have 5 expatriates. Now, at commencement of your operations, it is 10%. But 3 years after your commencement of your operation, you have to reduce it to 5%. What this means is that no matter what, as long as your total number of senior staff remains as it is, you will have to send some of the expatriates home. So it behoves on the companies to make sure that training is given to Ghanaians so that they can take over from the expatriates when they leave. Apart from this, and it goes for the support services as well, because there are certain foreign companies that are providing support services to the mining industry, and they will also require some expatriates. But in their case, it is not 5%, depending on the nature of services that you provide to the mining industry. The regulation has stipulated the number of expatriates that you require. But even in their cases, they are also required to provide training to the Ghanaians so that they can take over from the expatriates when they leave the system. In supplying us with the localization plan, mining companies provided the individual development plan of Ghanaians in their establishment. Ghanaians that have been identified as counterparts to expatriates working in the company. And they are giving a big conscious effort to give them training that will enable them to take over from expatriates when the due date for the localization of that position is due.
But then the acting CEO last week alluded to the fact that sometimes before even that time is due, those persons who are being trained are poached, or they are moved to, or they move to other businesses.
That is true. That is one of the challenges we also find ourselves in when it comes to human resources. It appears that people working in the mining industry in Ghana are sought after by companies outside the country. So once somebody finds himself in a critical position, is given training to take over from an expatriate, he is also being sought after as an expatriate in other countries. So you find a lot of Ghanaians working as expatriates in Mali, Burkina Faso, and other places. And that's a challenge for us.
But what's the plan to make that stop or to reduce
that we should
the
train more people. We should identify more counterparts rather than one counterpart. So if you have an expatriate, nothing stops you from having more than one counterpart. You can have 2 or 3 counterparts understanding the expatriate. Of course, the mining companies will say that it is cost, but we believe that it is also workable. You have a number of persons understanding the expatriate. We do not believe that we will have all the 3 leaving the country at the same time.
Could happen, especially I'm tempted to think that it could be about remuneration, because obviously expatriates earn more than locals.
Yes.
Yes.
It happens everywhere, and that is probably the reason why people want to go outside and also be seen or become expatriate. Because if you are an expatriate, there are certain allowances that you enjoy, which for me, working in my own country, will not enjoy. The challenge here is that we expect that at least the basic salary that will be given to an expatriate should be given to the local when he takes over from the expatriate. And these are things that we are in talks with the Chamber of Mines and the other players in the industry to see how we can work around it.
I was going to come to that on the collaboration between the Minerals Commission and its other stakeholders. Okay. How do you all work together to iron out your differences? Because I'm sure that the mandates are different and more specific to specific organizations. So how do you ensure that it all comes together to work towards the common goal?
We have a good relationship with the Ghana Chamber of Mines and the HEI. And I'll say that, in fact, when we were developing the local procurement list for the first time, we did it together with the Chamber of Mines. Together we identified the items that are required by the mining industry, the inputs that are required by the mining industry. And together we were able to agree on those that we believe that mining companies spent about 80% of their money on. So we have that kind of collaboration with them. When there was a time that we realized that electrical cables were not being procured by mining companies locally, together with the chamber, we were able to have a workshop to deal with the issue and to find out the reasons why mining companies were not procuring these items. When we're able to identify the causes, together with them again and Ghana Standard Board, we've been able to develop standards for the cables that are being used in the mining industry in Ghana, because that was one of the challenges that we identified. So we work together with the chamber on this issue. Yes, it is an association of the mining companies. It has its mandate. We also, as regulators of the industry, have our mandate. But it is important that the regulator also collaborates effectively with the regulator so that we'll be able to achieve your goals.
When you talk about local companies sourcing things locally, for example, government policy like the 1D, 1F, and those other ones that aim at boosting local capacity or local manufacturing, do you have engagement with some of these heads of institutions, for example, these factories or these companies that produce local raw material and products, to help you to, meet the demand, so that way imports can be reduced and then delivery times can also be improved?
Thank you. We've been assisting. We've been trying to support private investors who want to produce some of the inputs that are required by the mining companies, but which at the moment are not being produced. For instance, one common product which is used by mining companies is activated carbon. It is used by the gold producing company. It is a substance that is used to absorb gold from solution. Unfortunately, we are not in the position. There is no company in the country that is producing that. But we had a number of private investors approaching it. Lecturers from University of Mines and Technology, lecturers from KNUST, who have done some research on these things and want to be given the opportunity and then the support to produce it. We assisted one or two who were meeting the AFDB, African Development Bank, to present their research findings to them to see whether they can get support. So we're trying as much as possible to see how we could be able to do some of these things to support.
So in your estimation, what's the outlook for the policy in the coming years?
It's very bright. It's very bright. We believe that it's a good thing that we put in place the local content regulation. Let me say that it was started in 2012, but at that time it was part of a number of regulations that were put together. Last year we had a dedicated local content and local participation law for the mining industry. That's a dedicated one on its own. It is not mixed with other things. We believe that the things that we have in there, if we are able to implement them, we're able to ensure that they are implemented by the mining companies, it will help us a lot. Apart from the services, I am sure you are also aware that certain rules have also been set aside for locals. Human resource rules cannot be occupied by expatriates. Finance and accounting rules are reserved for Ghanaians. Corporate affairs rules are reserved for Ghanaians. Community and sustainability rules have also been reserved for Ghanaians. Mine manager, the mine manager, general mine manager, who is the head of a mine rule, has also been reserved for Ghanaians. At the commencement of your operation, you can have an expatriate general manager for only a period of 3 years. After 3 years, it has to be localized. So we believe that there is light at the end of the tunnel.
Thank you so much, Sir Collins Enim Saki, for sharing those insights with us. We look forward to having you again from the Minerals Commission next week to continue this conversation and this drive that you're on to make people aware of what's happening in the mining industry and what the Minerals Commission has to offer by way of what the law provides or what mandates has been assigned to it by the law to help local participation in the mining industry and other subjects related to mining. Thank you so much.
Thank you
for adding your voice to this conversation. Mr. Collins Enim Saki is the Director, Policy Planning and Minerals Titles of the Minerals Commission, and he's been our guest on the regular Wednesday morning conversation on the mining industry. We'll have them again next week, God willing, to continue this conversation. You're still watching Breakfast on GTV. Coming up, we have rush hour. We are monitoring the traffic situation on the Adenta or Yarifa side of town, and my colleague Jay Gabra will be standing by to bring us all those details right after this. Stay with us. Yes, and we are back to monitor traffic, and Jay is ready with the team to tell us what's happening on that Dodoa intersection. Jay, what can you tell us? Yep, we are hearing loads of sounds in the background, so we're trying to establish contact with our reporter. Jay, can you hear me? What can you tell us about the traffic situation there? Okay, Jay, can you hear me?
Okay, so thank you, Thelma. So
yes.
This morning, I'm bringing you rush hour from the thick of things right here at the Ashama Red Light. And as you can see, the scenes, everybody is about their business. Everybody is doing something. It's a scene of, should I say, organized chaos right here. So this crossroads I am right now, you can tell this is what leads into the main Ashama. So people are coming in from Tema, some are coming from the Ashama roundabout, and also some are coming from Klagon, Lashibi, those areas, all towards this side as well. So what you're witnessing right now is traffic building up at the moment, especially for those coming into the Ashama from Tema, and then for those coming in from the Ashama roundabout, that's right in front of me. That's the thing that you're seeing right now. So I want to describe what's going on right now. I want to tell you that you'll notice when the traffic light is on, there's no kind of zebra crossing. So you realize people come and stand in the middle of the road and then they try and watch the vehicles, oncoming traffic as well, just to see if they can get a chance to cross the road. These are some of the scenes that you'll be seeing. And also, right in front of me, you'll see that when the traffic light turns green for those vehicles, for road commuters to turn to their left, they make a U-turn right at the traffic light. And this situation also develops into some kind of, it also creates more traffic than it should. So if there's a way they can go inside and come back towards their junction, instead of making the U-turn right at the traffic light, it will help the situation. So you notice the pedestrians I was talking about will have to cross the road from the middle because there's no zebra crossing here at the moment. Yes. So I believe if the police is watching this, they should come in and try to help the situation.
They just drove past you, Jay.
And, it's a scene of organized chaos, if I may say so.
The police just drove past you.
Right now.
The police a police car just drove past you, and I'm wondering if there's a post
no
there.
U-turn at this juncture, because what they are doing, it seems extremely dangerous. But it seems they are used to the situation, and I think maybe we should find a way to curb that. So these are scenes from the Ashama traffic light, the main Ashama township itself, and this is rush hour. Back to you in the studios.
Thank you, Jay, for those details. I was wondering if there was a police stand nearby, and I saw a police vehicle drive by. I was wondering if there's some of their personnel around to help in this situation, to help direct traffic, to help keep pedestrians safe, especially as there's no zebra crossing to assist them, and they keep having to make a mad dash just to cross to safety. So Jay Gabra telling us what the traffic situation on the Ashaiman side of town is looking like this morning. Quite a heavy build-up and a little bit of organized chaos, using his words, on that stretch. So if you're using that side of town this morning, that's what you should expect. Make time to travel and allow time for the traffic as well, so that you can get to your scheduled destination on time. You're watching Breakfast on GTV News. There's more ahead in this package. Cav and his panel will be sitting down to discuss top stories in the headlines. I'll have an interesting conversation about science, technology, engineering and mathematics, and also we'll have Inspector Bediako in the house on the lighter side. All this and more coming up before 9 a.m. Stay with us, there's more to come.
Live from GBC Studio 1, this is the Breakfast Show.
Sing me down, see, oh, me down, see, oh, me down, see, oh, down, and yebe to Ebenezer. Nyami hatumarakwa kainyo yemya yemao nafanasi mano.
GTV breakfast brought to you with the kind support of Awake Purified Drinking Water. It's right here. Shield Acrylic Paint and Adonko Next Level Energy Drink. Still to come, a conversation on rent. And this is for tenants and landlords only. What's your story about rent advance? On Facebook, Deladem says, my current landlord is super good. No stress with payment at all. He's ready to take anything. You are blessed. Are you still on earth or you are in heaven now, where there's no rent? Bennett says, paying rent for every 3 months, I'll not be comfortable with it. It gives you too much pressure to find a way out to pay rent for the next coming 3 months. I prefer the 2 years advance. So this is a tenant who says, listen, I want the 2 years advance. That's a conversation we'll be having on rent in a short while. And then also, when Thelma comes on, she's going to be talking about STEM education. So for those of you who hated maths and science, this is something you want to check out. A couple of comments on Facebook, and I asked the question, why did you hate maths and science in school? And Wilson said, the method of teaching, the hot mental in the morning, followed by the knocks on the head with wooden rulers by terrorist teachers. You know, with hot lashes. Most Ghanaian teachers teach as if the classroom is a war zone. My guest is nodding his head. So that conversation will be coming pretty soon. He is the Honourable Member of Parliament for the good people of Bia West in the Western North region. The Honourable Augustine Tewia, representing the NDC.
Yes.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
It's good to have you here.
Thank you.
Did you like maths in school?
Yes.
Okay, so you were not terrorized by teachers at all?
No. And I regret I didn't even study math at the higher level.
Why do you regret that?
Because when you get into any form of study towards a terminal degree, a PhD, you needed mathematics.
Okay.
And your algebra, if you lack the fundamentals of algebra, it will show in your statistics.
Okay.
And so as a doctoral student, I struggled a little bit with my statistics because I only did O-level mathematics. If I had done additional mathematics, or if I had done mathematics at sixth form, it would have accelerated my opportunities.
Okay.
So I recognize
the power of math.
But the power of math, you can't do away with math.
You can't do away with
If you do math right now, up to high school, elective mathematics, you are poised to be successful in life.
Okay. The doctoral studies, are you done?
Oh, yeah.
So we can call you doctor?
200 years ago. Yes. Actually, I did 2.
Oh, 2 doctorates?
Yes.
So how does it go? Doctor?
Well, I'm not from that country.
Yeah, so, Germany does that a lot. You have
yes,
they call you doctor.
Yes. They will say professor, doctor.
Okay.
That's
all right. Okay. Oh, well, congratulations. Just curious, though. What are the doctorates in?
In leadership and policy studies, and the other one in theology.
Oh, so you're on SOFO too?
You may say so.
Let's talk about the trending on SOFO. So this yesterday, the Anglican priest / lawyer overtrended. I mean, he took away all the big stories in the news.
The front page.
Yes, this is a man who was seen on video kissing 3 students of the College of Education in Mampong. And there was uproar yesterday. He's been fired from his position, both as lawyer for the institution and as a priest. What's your view on this story?
Well, it's a little bit bizarre. In the first place, during the church service, for such a thing to happen. I'm sure he's energized as a result of whatever at the service for him to do that. But he may have the best of intentions. However, his actions are reprehensible. And so some serious work would have to be done to lay a clear policy. But you see, you can't get into everything. But his actions were too much of many breaches. COVID. And for me, when I saw the video, I just saw a second of it. And I thought maybe he kissed their foreheads. Until I got in the car and they were saying, oh, he let somebody even take off the mask.
Yeah, it was lip to lip.
I was surprised. I was surprised. And you know, I went back and I said, I need to check the background of this guy. He is a lawyer.
Indeed.
In addition, I think overindulgence. He's too excited. He's too excited at the service.
Yeah, he must control
in a state of frenzy, some people can do something a little strange.
Indeed.
But if you want a theological reflection on that, I have seen people saying, oh, he was giving them a holy kiss.
Okay.
And in the scriptures, there are references to greet one another with a holy kiss.
Okay.
We have a reference in Romans 16:16, 1 Corinthians 16. The issue in context there.
What is a holy kiss?
That's what I'm going to explain. In that setting, the understanding of the people was, if you gave somebody a peck or an embrace, it is your mouth close to that person's mouth, but actually it is your heart close to each other.
Oh, okay.
And the concept was, because of that, there's a strong bond and a sense of community. So it was a very mild, unintended for any other thing. Now, that was in context. In our traditional context here, if I shook hands with you, that shows that we are in good company. Unfortunately, COVID, we can't do that.
So we're elbow now.
We're elbow up. And in fact, before this time, there were a few friends, like your colleague, Mr. Mensa, that when we meet, because we are such close pals, we'll elbow each other. Okay. And if a handshake will come. But the elbow is even actualization of our friendship.
Okay.
So if we take that out of context and said you should be kissing students at mass in a school context, that is way out.
Way out of order. That was definitely an unholy case.
Yes.
Honorable Terry, we'll get to you with the trending stories in a short while. Let's go to our colleague who is on the ground keeping an eye on things in the Medina Zongo area. Alan, kuna lafia. Good morning, oh.
Yeah.
Yes, Alan, take it away. I understand you are in the Medina area.
Yes.
Alan, can you hear me?
Okay.
Alan, take it away. Go ahead.
Hi, good morning and welcome to Medina. This is Rush Hour on hashtag GTV Breakfast. If you can hear us in the studio, sorry for the loud sound by a trotro driver who's obviously aware of our reporting this morning, and so would want to deliberately interrupt this as it is. Now, we're at the main intersection at Medina, what you normally call Medina Zongo Junction, and this very junction is very notorious for traffic every morning. In fact, it's such a burden to commuters, so much so that some people would by all means want to avoid it if they can, and if there were any alternatives. What we're going to do this morning, interestingly, is a hybrid of rush hour and keep an eye. Why will that be necessary? You will recall that recently the Greater Accra Regional Minister, Honorable Henry Quartey, has embarked on a mission to ensuring that Accra works again. And as part of his getting Accra to work again, he recently erected some barricades to stop pedestrians from crossing the main road, which actually brings on the traffic, and has with that barricade ensured that pedestrians would use the footbridge. If you can see that in the shots behind me, pedestrians will use the footbridge. Up to my right is the main junction or road leading into Medina Market, and to my left it goes into one of the neighboring communities close to this main intersection. As we head out here, you know the situation with the Legon the Legon University of Ghana junction on the Okponglo area. Traffic built up over there is really very huge, and would inform or advise commuters and other road users to avoid it by all means if they can, because the traffic situation heading out into Accra is nothing to write home about. It really isn't one I would want to sit in. And so if you are heading out from Dodowa, Eburi and its environs and headed for Accra, please by all means use an alternative route to help yourself. With the pedestrians using the footbridge, we have a young man with us, Hakim Abdallah, who is a volunteer ensuring that trotros especially will not park anyhow to bring on the traffic, and also pedestrians keep to the footbridge. I'll bring Hakim on for a short interaction, and he would let us know why and how come he decided to volunteer. Hakim Abdallah, sorry to inform you that Hakim will be speaking Chi. Hakim will be speaking Chi, and I will do my best to bring us a certain summary of what he tells us goes on here or is currently ongoing here. Hakim is getting his working gear in order to join us. Hakim Akwaba. Hakim. Bear Kakrasi, who the usher nose mask into me. Okay, Hakim, we are volunteer. I didn't know volunteer.
That was volunteer.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm more employee. Say, I'm more MTTU.
Okay.
And the Greater Accra Regional Minister. Nishisha, I was share so per Ghana, Accra, and say, yes, we need you. And as a member of Protoa. Yem penny for you say ember boy na yamko ye Zongo Johnson. Ampaso yesu ya diwaya ya wondi be boy beta omuti. And they share around wa footbridge no so any prefer previous romu cross area.
Hakim, me who say okita canes near there. I didn't know okita cane.
That be sunu be player stubborns. Any omu mate mo. Baby I say one jina no.
No.
And yes, you crasa and you say the bomb. And I have no traffic in a flow all the time.
Okay, into Usha as yes, oh yes, I know. And then I'm traffic no akoye.
So traffic in a flow Zongo Junction.
Okay. Into Muna mobile police for na homogena middle no.
I don't know Muna age ma. Better divisional commander I say. And in Perifono. Any MC, you know, any Medina, Perifona, or Monina, Bois, Sadia, we yet more. Cannon yet, but better Munina. And the Master
Regional Commander only Medina said about who say or no, can
divisional commander. Patron Dimo, but obey operation Bua, managing home, Medana say. Baby, I will be our Timinka, Hakim Tiano.
So, back to you in the studio. As you can hear, Hakim, he's a volunteer assisting the police MTTD with the traffic management and ensuring that also pedestrians would not cross the road anyhow, but use the footbridge as constructed. Thank you very much for joining us on at Medina Zongo Junction.
Thank you so much. That's Alan doing a hybrid of Keep an Eye and Rush Hour. Charlie, those canes, it says they use them just to threaten the people. But if you lose your temper, you may use those canes on the drivers, and that will be illegal. You can't be killing
Well,
people.
they hit the cars.
Okay. All right. Let's go straight into our headlines, hitting the cars. Let's start off with on a football note. So the AFCON. I'm enjoying your mask, the GFA mask.
Fantastic.
Ghana has drawn Gabon, Comoros, and Morocco.
Yes.
Group C, AFCON 2022. Your thoughts?
Black Stars, we go B. We are moving ahead. But hey, drawing Gabon and drawing Morocco is not it's not an easy task. Historically, these have been big soccer nations, and so I'm excited that we've drawn these groups, but we have enough time to prepare. And I would think that we should anticipate greater things and better things from our team. So they have my full support, and I'm sure they have the entire nation's support to go ahead. We have been trophy dry for a long time. And so these groups, impediments on our way, we should just clear them. We know Morocco is not going to be a walkover. Gabon is not going to be a pushover. But hey, this is Ghana. We know what to do.
Okay.
And if we put our hands on deck, I think we can do it.
We can do it. We can get out of the group and continue.
Yes.
Okay.
I didn't even mention Comoros.
Hey.
Because
David slew Goliath.
I know, but we know where we are.
Okay, we know where we are.
Yes.
We're also on Agenda 111. You were talking about the importance of maths. The 111 hospital project takes off. This story was bumped off by the kissing priest yesterday, but it's on the front page of today's graphic. So Trede community in the Ashanti region is the first beneficiary of the much-touted Agenda 111 to construct district hospitals and some referral medical facilities across the country. So project, there was a groundbreaking ceremony yesterday in the Ashanti region. The president cut the sword for construction of Itrima Kwamuma District Hospital at Trede in the Ashanti region. So lots of numbers being bandied around. $100 million supposed to be the initial funding that is put down. A little breakdown. We spoke to the Information Minister. He said, well, average cost of a facility will be around 17 million. If you total everything, we're talking about 1-point-something billion dollars.
1.3 thereabouts.
Yes, multiply by 6, and then you're looking at some 8 billion Ghana cedis or so. Your view on Agenda 111?
It's great to have hospitals. And in my development, I allude to that very strongly. The nearest hospital to my home in the western region was 66 kilometers on entire roads. Many people have died on those roads just trying to get into the hospital. And so if we can get medical facilities everywhere, that is great. I had COVID at the beginning of this year. I'm fully recovered. I was in the hospital for 66 days. And imagine the number of people who need to get in order to get treatment. So any place that we can get medical facility, that's wonderful. I work so hard to work with non-governmental organizations, charity organizations, and with the District Assembly Common Fund to set up Ship's Compound in my district. And I'm sure the good people of Bia can see that. So if the president sets out to construct additional medical facilities for districts without one, that's great. For example, we have a hospital in Bia West. We don't have a hospital in Bia East. So the pressure from that place comes to us. Therefore, it's great if Bia East also gets something. And then doctors will be available within a short distance from each other. So it's wonderful. The list, as we were saying, has also 2 psychiatric hospitals, which is wonderful because we don't know when we'll cross the line. There's the fine mean, everybody trying to stay within the mean, but there are outliers out there. And we continue to say there are quite a number of people who have crossed the line. And so we need more facilities for treatment and some for confinement in order to really get better from mental issues. So overall, it's a great idea. The issue is the timeline given. 18 months, they will be constructed. Well, the 18...
Well, initially it was 12 months, and now we're hearing now it's 18 months.
Let me allude to what was said yesterday. 18 months. Initially, it was supposed to be 12 months. And that was said in July 2020.
Okay.
So last month, July 2021, we were supposed to commission those hospitals.
The 88?
Yes. And 1 year after that, all of a sudden we have a big caption for it. Strong Agenda 111. Well, Where does this take us? Then you allude to the $100 million which is available for this work to start. The question is, how many would they do? When you work the math from 1.3 billion for the entire project and the 100 million we have, it is 6%.
It's supposed to be mobilization to start the process.
Yes, but when they present the first certificate, where is your money coming from? We have learned some hard lessons in this country from such big initiatives without really having the money in your hands. So I'm enthusiastic in hearing that the nation Ghana seeks to build these medical facilities because we need it. From here to my constituency, it's a 9 to 10 hour drive. I can be ill anywhere, I can be involved in an accident anywhere, and if they have a good facility, wonderful. But the issue is there's too much deception in the approach towards this effort. Where are the 88 hospitals? During the Hello Fellow Ghanaians broadcast, it was said, the president was supposed to talk about COVID, and he spent the time talking about his building hospitals.
Were you surprised to see the health minister at Trader yesterday?
That's another drama too. Yes. After his 2 weeks holiday leave, he is back. And
he spent the 2 weeks?
I think so. And so it's a face-saving strategy for him now to be in the forefront, speaking about something positive.
What do you want to happen to him?
What do I want to happen to him? I'm in Parliament. I see what goes on there. I listened to the report that was laid. I think for the honor of the gentleman, he ought not to be in office. For his own honor, he ought not to be in office.
Should he jump or should the president push him?
Well, if he refuses to do it, the president, for the transparency, for his protection of the public purse that he alleged, this gentleman should not be in office.
Are you surprised the president hasn't fired him?
I am surprised, pleasantly surprised.
Pleasantly?
Yes, because the thing is, this man should not be in office. As good, as nice as he is, his people's skills are wonderful. But when you do the wrong thing, you must pay. And they've talked about, oh, we have to forgive him as a country in Akan. He's the one who is carrying the water, and so he breaks the pot.
Okay.
Well, there are so many processes. You can't just sit in your office and sign a contract. It has to come to Parliament.
Who else should take the fall with him?
Well, honestly, he didn't do this in isolation. He's not a lone ranger in this illegal activity.
Who is his co-pilot?
Well, he's the finance minister who, without authorization from Parliament, made payments.
So what do you want the finance minister to do?
He should do the honorable thing.
Which is?
The honorable thing is he should step aside.
Is that drastic?
He should go home.
He should go home?
Yes.
Is
that drastic?
Yeah, I'm asking you.
No. If you mess up, you see, there are so many things that you can do. We all have skills to do things. But when your skill sets, this priest, he's a lawyer. He is a teacher. He is a pastor. And he has all those qualities.
And also a kisser.
And he took that step beyond his calling. And look at the public outcry, outrage. And as a result, the church says, we have our values. This is not consistent with our values.
So you think the president should act like the Anglican Church?
Yes. If we don't do that, do you think it gives any incentive for somebody in the district to do that, at the medical stores to do that? And the chain value of the medical profession, if a medical doctor makes a mistake and somebody dies, he just walks free. There are laws that guide us. So the same laws that a guy who stole coconuts, who stole goods, will go to jail, the same laws must also guide the Minister of Health, the Minister of Finance. I am outraged about the fact that he's still being entertained by the president and they are walking as if nothing has happened.
What can you do in Parliament?
What can I do in Parliament?
Yes.
Well, we can initiate several processes.
Will you?
We can file a motion against that. We are watching what the president will do.
Okay.
And I think we will not let this pass.
Is there a timeline?
We are in recess now, on recess now.
When you come back?
And when we come back, I think by that time, they will have had sufficient time to have done something to him. We've seen that happen.
When you come back to
by the end of September.
Okay, so
yes.
some about 5-6 weeks?
Yes.
Okay.
So if he has all that time, and they are just explaining themselves and keep explaining themselves and muddying the water, oh, he's paid the money back. Well, people had died in this country. People had promised that they are going to pay loans they have taken, and they were dealt with according to the laws at the time. So for someone to do this and still stay in office, I am surprised. And I think that if others are not serious about it and they will just brush it aside, this is something I take very seriously. I take exception to those who are still harboring him.
All right. The Honorable Augustine Teria, MP for the people of Bia West.
Yes.
In the Western North region, takes exception to those who are defending the continued stay in office of the Health Minister and, he says, the Finance Minister. What's your thought? Let us know. Hashtag GTV Breakfast, brought to you by Awake Purified Drinking Water, Shield Acrylic Paint, and Adonko Next Level Energy Drink. Let's go back to church matters. Today's Ghanaian Times. Presby Church taking a stand against LGBTQI+. So the Presbyterian Church of Ghana will sever its relationship with churches and groups that ordain and permit the practice of lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer or questioning and intersex LGBTQI+. This is the moderator, Right Reverend Professor Joseph Obriyebwa Mante speaking. So he was speaking at the 21st General Assembly of the Presbyterian Church in Accra yesterday, recognizing that some ministers of the church worked in societies that allowed for the practice of LGBTQI, but he also noted that as long as they demonstrated faith in the church's stance, they will be offered the needed support. So Presby Church is standing seriously against these practices. I know in Parliament there's been a private member's bill to put into a law which has attracted a lot of protests from quarters around the world, but generally in Ghana there seems to be a lot of support for this particular bill. We just want to welcome into our conversation the former MP for the good people of Ikumfi, where I understand the best pineapples in the world are grown, Honorable Francis Kingsley Atu Kujo.
Thank you.
Good to have you here.
Thank you, sir.
Akwaba.
Yeah.
Awesome. I'm sure you are familiar with one another.
Yes.
Even at the mass, you can recognize him.
Yes.
He's giving you a fist bump. Yeah. So we're looking at the LGBTQI story. The Presbyterian Church has taken a stand against it. They say they will sever relationships with any churches or groups that allow gay practice or promote gay practices. It's not a surprising stance.
Yes.
Is it?
Yes. No, it's not a surprising stance. I'm involved in the process. We have met with the Christian Council.
Is that your church?
No, I'm not Presbyterian. I'm from the Church of Christ.
Okay.
And the deal is, I think, following the theological teachings of the New Testament and the Old Testament, you recognize that the LGBTQ plus is not compatible with the Judeo-Christian traditions.
Are there any church groups in Ghana who are tolerant of
So
LGBTQI?
far, I'm not aware of any church group. Yes. But they have sympathies from people outside our country. And I know in time past, the Presbyterian Church, the Universal Presbyterian Church, especially the Anglican Church, they had to sever relations with the North American group, the Episcopal Church, because of open acceptance. And in the UK, it's widely accepted as well.
Church of Christ, do you have any affiliation with international churches
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yes. And so far, globally, no one will accept that within the Fellowship of Churches of Christ.
Purely because it's against the teachings of the New Testament? Because it is
against the teachings of the Bible.
Where in the New Testament do you read of such?
Now, we are going to get into it seriously.
Okay.
Yes.
No, just one verse.
One verse. Yeah. Now you put me on the spot.
Yes.
Yes. Well, let's just talk, for example, that in Ephesians 4-6, about the domestic arrangements. And a man should have his own wife, and let a woman have her own husband. So the issue is, then where does this come from? But in the Old Testament, there are direct references to the gay and lesbian lifestyle.
So it's a no-no. It's a no-no.
It's a no-no issue.
Let me bring Honorable Kujo. So, Presbyterian Church is. There are no surprises there, are there? I mean, they don't. Can you foresee a situation where a church in Ghana or even a politician would say, "Look, let live and let live. You have no business entering into people's homes and bedrooms."
Okay, thank you very much, and let me apologize to you and your listeners for coming in late. I believe that the Christian community in Ghana, around this time, we are together in not giving any way for this GTV thing to be pushed to the society. It's not just the Christian community. I think the Muslim community also is against it.
What are the traditional priests saying?
I think that for most traditional priests who actually come through our traditional authorities, the traditional authorities are also against it. So I assume that the traditional priests and all those people are also against it. There have been few voices, few individual voices, maybe some few collective voices as well, but they are in a very, very minority that had said that, okay, why are you worried about what somebody does with his private life? Why are you concerned about people's love life? But I read something by one person who says that, okay, if you say we should not concern ourselves about private, mature people in private, then why worry about a mother and a son sleeping, or a father and daughter sleeping, or siblings sleeping together? So if we are not supposed to worry about what people do in their private, with their love life, then we should allow all these people to practice whatever they believe. But everybody believes that those ones are against society. In the same way, it's also against society for a man to be sleeping with a woman to be sleeping with a man. And so I think that the church, as a church of Christ, has taken the right stand. There are lots of scriptures, like you said, it's difficult, but I can give you even one.
Are you also?
I'm a preacher. I've been a preacher for quite a long time.
Oh, okay.
And
so the politicians are not bad.
Well, that's a whole conversation we're going to have.
So you read 1 Corinthians 6, 9-10. You read 1 Timothy 1 and 10. You read Romans 1, 26-27.
The evidence is there.
Evidence is there. Okay. Clearly, it is against homosexual activities. Okay. And then even Romans says that some of them doing this have exchanged God and are worshiping, exchanging the Creator and worshiping the Creator. They are exchanging and then a lot of punishment, curses have come upon them.
Do you have sympathies for people who may say that they were born like that?
Nobody is born like that. I have been reading a lot on some of this. I read recently where it says that most of them learn them actually from schools. They were not like that before. They learned them from schools.
So you stand with the Presbyterian Church on this?
I stand with the Presbyterian. I'm a Methodist, and then recently the Methodist Church in UK accepted LGBT community into Methodist Fellowship.
What was the response of the Methodist Church in Ghana?
We have said that we are not under their control. We are not under the union. Their pattern of service is different. Ours is different.
They don't support you with cash?
No, not at all. Nothing at all.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we gained independence many years back.
All right. Okay.
Many years back, 60 years or so.
So have you severed relationships with them?
Long time. We had our relation severed about 60 years ago, but not on this matter.
Yes, on this matter.
Yeah, because there are some Ghanaian ministers there,
okay,
and all that. Ghanaians who are ministers of them.
But you agree to disagree on this with them?
Yes,
okay,
we do.
All right, quickly, let's jump into something that will concern you both as a former or current MP. Front page today's Ghanaian Times, the bulk oil storage company Boss has overrun its budget by over 30 million cedis due to unplanned activities in 2019. I'm very curious as to what these unplanned activities are. A lot of money. This 30 million represents 33% in excess of what they had budgeted for. So staff cost was exceeded. Operational by 5.5 million. Operational expenses exceeded by 6.2 million. Operations maintenance another 7.8 million. Marine insurance 1.8. Fuel 7.5. Rent and rates 29,000. Honorarium almost 300,000. Then you had interview and expenses 94,000. Directors allowances 81,000. There's a whole list of things that were overrun. Management misapplied 30.5 million on unplanned activities, a situation which could lead to delay in a couple of in completion of other important planned projects. I mean, this is it's all coming after the fact. This is 2 years after the fact. I often wonder why these reports can't come in quickly so you can nip certain things in the bud. Because you start to think what is happening right now. If this was happening in 2019, the 2021 report will probably come in 2023, and then be a conversation like this where people are complaining.
Yes.
How do you rein in these things? Is it possible?
It's difficult because you see the year must end for the audit service to audit their books.
Is it not possible that auditing can be going on?
It's ongoing. They come on site to check. And then at the end of the year, they have to do the cumulative report. And so after that, then all the infractions that were found, they still have to take it back to the organization. The Audit Report Implementation Committee, ARIC, will have to work on it and see whether some of the infractions noted were correct or not. So the back and forth and all those things, it could take up to about a year, in my estimation. And so it may be too late now, and if they are up to their game, maybe it can be 6 months into the new year. Like by this time, we should be able to have the 2020 report. Yes, but sometimes they complain of staff, they complain of getting all this data together because the people have different offices and so forth.
Let me bring in Honorable Kujo. How do you stop these overruns? What power does Parliament have?
Okay, there are two things I want to say in relation to this. First of all, for government agent, MMD, whatever
it is,
government agencies, ministries, department, and agencies. We auditors are posted from the audit department, audit service, to the agencies, and these auditors sit there and audit every voucher that comes through, and so it should be possible within the period to know what is happening. I agree that end of year audit and statutory audit comes at the end of the year, and then some of these things will be late when the report is out like that. But once you have officers there, they should be able to tell you what is happening from time to time. So I will not buy the excuse that every time it has to come after the final audit has been done.
All right.
And then we have to see this after post-audit. There is something we call pre-audit. Pre-audit is before the actual audit. You do some pre-examination of whatever is happening. So once they have officers there, but truly, from what I know, is that most of the officers, when they are posted to these agencies, over time, I wouldn't use the word compromised.
They get comfortable?
They get comfortable. And so some of the things...
So switching them around would help?
Yes. Frequently moving them around.
Move them around.
So that they don't... but number two.
And briefly, out of time.
Yeah, number two, I don't really... Once, as an accountant, I need to be fair. If you're talking about overrun, what is the revenue side? What are the income? What are the things that cause overrun? Was it just spent as spending sake, or it was additional activity to bring additional revenue? So it would be nice for us to have both sides of the coin.
To see what
accounting is debit credit. So every debit entry should generate a credit entry expected.
Thank you very much. Just before we leave, the Ugandan government has, on the request of the U.S., agreed to take in 2,000 Afghan refugees.
Uganda?
Yes, Ugandan. Yes, 2,000. And Uganda appears to be quite friendly to refugees. They rank high. 2,000. all expenses will be paid by the United States government. Should the U.S. government make a request, similar request to Ghana? Should the Ghana government accept Afghan refugees into the country?
You see, it would have been good for us as a country to show that kind of solidarity or the human thing to a community that is in distress. But the politics in this country will not allow us to do that. It will not.
Some Guantanamo chaps landed into
Two chaps
the country.
came here,
yes,
and for over months, that was it, whatever we were discussing. We often lose our sense of humanity when it comes to these issues because of where the political divide we have. So our political atmosphere
will not allow it to happen.
Will not allow it to happen. Okay. But we have accepted refugees before from Liberia, from Sierra Leone.
Yeah.
From Sierra Leone. I hope I'll have last minute to say one thing before I go.
We say it now because we
now I came late, but let me congratulate President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo.
I know where you're going. 111.
Agenda 111.
I know.
One of the hospitals we built in my community.
Okay.
My district doesn't have a hospital. We've never had a hospital. And we're going to have it one day. It's part of the project they're going to do. So I want to thank him.
Thank you.
And I believe that 18 months, the hospital will be there.
All right. Afghan, should Ghana, if the request is made,
it's possible. We should look at our existing laws, the rationale for trying to bring them here, because most of these people they are trying to place in second countries, they are processing them to go to the U.S. because they help the Afghan
translators and things like
translators
that.
and drivers and all of that. So to some extent, it's the universal human brotherhood that we have to help people who are in distress. At the same time, we have to look at our strategic safety and security. And the issue is, when these refugees come here, they are people who are wanted in their home country. And so what is the impact on us as ISIS and other groups linked to the Taliban?
Were these considerations taken into account when the Guantanamo guys were being brought into Ghana?
Yes, those things were discussed extensively.
All right. We'll hear the Honorable Augustine Teria, MP for the people of Bia West, Midawasi.
Yes.
Thank you. My first words in Seshri, live on TV.
Midawasi.
And the Honorable Francis Kingsley Atukojo, former MP for Ekumfi, Midawasi.
Thank you.
All right. Where the best pineapples are grown.
Sugar loaf.
Sugar, the whole world.
Yes.
What is Bia known for?
Bia cocoa.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Best cocoa?
Best cocoa and in high quality and high quantity.
Thank you so much. All right, so from cocoa and pineapples to rent issues, because the next conversation is on rent. And I asked a question, landlords and tenants, what's your story on rent advance? And Teresa says, my rent was increased by 20 cedis. I don't know how much he's going to add next year. Deladem says, my current landlord is super good, no stress with rent, he's ready to take anything. Okay. And then the last comment, Adam says, he increased the rent by 10%, while my salary increment is 4%. That's the proper definition of improper fraction. We'll be back with a conversation on rent. There's also a conversation on STEM, science, tech, engineering and mathematics. Those of you who dreaded going to maths and science class, well, I'm sure there are interesting ways of doing it now for people to be more interested. You stay with us. This is GTV Breakfast. The rent conversation comes up after this.
(2006) From the capital, this is the Breakfast Show. Coming live from the capital, this is the Breakfast Show.
Are you ready? It's heat hot and we are serving you breakfast. A la carte.
It's a brand new packaged breakfast served on GTV, our style, keeping you on track and updated on
news making the headlines, how to navigate traffic,
What's up with the weather?
Your health check, getting you up to speed on lifestyle,
Sports.
word of showbiz, what's hot and what's not.
It's our date in the morning just for you. With the team you can trust.
It's breakfast, weekdays at 6 a.m.
Don't be late.
When you need a shoulder to cry, run on my pamper, so we try our suicide. Yeah, let bygone be bygone. I didn't see what the button go do, we go straight to stardom. And I go take you to next level. My baby, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. The energy next level. Back baby, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I'll take you to next level. My baby, oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
I don't quote next level. Excessive drinking can be detrimental to health. Not recommended for persons under 18 years, lactating mothers, pregnant women, and people sensitive to caffeine. This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the FDA.
Human resource function in the new normal, leading the shift from surviving to thriving. Under the distinguished patronage of the Honorable Ignatius Bafwewa, Minister of Employment and Labor Relations, special guest for the event, Alika Consulting cordially invites corporate entities, high net worth individuals, and the general public to the HR Role Model Awards on Friday, August 27, 2021 at Alisa Hotel at 7 p.m. The guest speaker, Honorable Joseph Kujo, Minister for Public Enterprises, will highlight HR prospect amidst current global challenges for practitioners, strictly by invitation. Interested participants may reserve corporate tables. Categories for the HR Role Model Awards 2021 include Best Employee Wellbeing Strategy, Best HR Technology Strategy, Best Learning and Development Strategy, Best Employee Experience Strategy, and Best Employee Engagement Strategy, among others. You may call 055-835-7200 or 050-579-5339 for further information. HR Role Model Excellence Award, the power of HR. Official media partners, GTV, Radio Ghana.
Coming live from the capital, this is the Breakfast Show.
Hashtag GTV Breakfast brought to you by Away Purified Drinking Water. Yes, you're right here. We've got Shield Acrylic Paint. We've also got our Adonko Next Level Energy Drink. For those of you who hated math and science, why was math and science so difficult and so unpleasant to study in school? There's a conversation on that, but comments are coming in. The method of teaching, the hot mental was just terrible. I was a lazy student, says Kofi. Young men who still find themselves in SHS and colleges, kindly don't joke with the subject you think you hate the most. Find a way to love it. And as for Kobila, he says, finding X was difficult. Always. If this is find X. Where the heck is X? You know, but STEM can be made interesting, and that's a conversation with Thelma in a short while. But let's talk now about rent, because it's a big issue. Do you live in a rented apartment, or do you intend to rent soon? Have you even read the Rent Act? Do you even know there was a Rent Act? And do you know what is required of you? And if you are a landlord, do you know what the law permits and what constitutes a flouting of the law? Have you, as a tenant, encountered a very difficult, troublesome, worrisome landlord or landlady? But you know they're good ones as well. And as a landlord, have you encountered a difficult tenant before? How did it end? We're going to have a conversation right now with the Rent Control Department. Joining me is Emmanuel Hove Posu. He is the Public Relations Officer of Rent Control Department. Emmanuel Wizo. Lekima.
Hello.
Good to have you here.
Thank you.
So let's talk rent issues right now. Exactly what does your department do?
Okay, so...
What do you control?
Okay. We are supposed to control rent.
Supposed to?
Yes. We are doing that exactly.
Really?
But when you look inside the Rent Act, 1963, Act 220, together with its supporting rent relegation, 1964, that is the LI 369. And then also Rent Control Law, 1986, there is the PNDC Law 138, which was amended to PNDC Law 136. When you look at Section 5 of the Rent Act, that is the 220, it has laid down what we are supposed to do as being our functions. The first point there is that we are to conduct what we call an assessment.
Of what?
Assessment is where somebody builds his premises. If the person intends to rent it out, then the person has to apply for the assessment. The assessment where will come into your premises, look at the property you've built, the location you've built that property, the price of the land, the property rate you pay, and any other rate you pay.
You do it?
Yes, we do.
How often?
It's based on application.
We have to apply?
You have to apply.
Do people apply?
People do.
Okay.
People do. Just that the number is very minimal because a lot of Ghanaians are not aware of this provision in the Act.
So how are you fixing that?
Yes, so we've intensified our sensitization program. We've intensified our educational programs so that people will be aware of this provision under the Act. So when we come to do all those things, then we will issue you with what we call an assessment certificate where we'll indicate the rent you are to charge for that property.
You determine the rent?
We have to determine.
But that's not what happens right now.
Yes, so it all boils down to the education, but it's also an infraction of the Act. So we are doing the sensitization program. There's a laid down process we are following now. I'll put them in. So when we give you that assessment certificate, indicating the rent you have to charge for a period of 2 years, within the period, if you do any renovation, you do any improvement, you have the right to come for what we call reassessment within the period. That notwithstanding, when you get the certificate, that will give you the right to advertise your structure or your premises. So we go into some of the basic rights and responsibilities of landlord.
Before you go there, this is all on paper. This does not happen. No landlord takes a rent from rent control and charges rent to his tenant or her tenant. It does not happen.
Just as I mentioned,
this is news.
No, it's not news. People are doing it, but the number is very small.
How small is that number?
Very, very small.
10%?
Less than 10%.
5%?
Less than 5%. We can talk about 2% because, just as I said, a lot of Ghanaians are not aware of this provision. A lot of landlords are going contrary to the Act. So we are intensifying our education. So people should be aware of this provision under the Act. So talking about our functions, apart from the assessment, there's this scenario, what we call ascondment case. Ascondment case is where somebody comes to your premises, the tenancy expires, and the person does not hand over your keys to you. If that happens, you don't have the right to forcibly open the premises.
But it happens.
So you are flouting the law. Any landlord who does that, the person can come back and say, my 10 CDs has got missing, my TV has got missing. So the best way is to come to the rent control, file this ascondment case, we'll follow due process, get an order from the court, and then we'll force open the door so that any item we find in there, we'll list them, give you a copy, and then give you the item for safekeep for another period of 2 weeks. After the 2 weeks, we go to the judge again to get what we should do with the item.
When was the last time rent control handled a case like this where a landlord comes to you and says, look, I need to jump into my building, come and break the door down for me? When was the last time you did this?
Even now, we have cases before. This type of case is common. It's very common.
Okay.
A lot of landlords are abiding by this because if you flout it, you can even be in prison.
You just said only 2% of people are following your...
No, we are talking about assessment. There are various items or various functions we do.
Okay.
So the assessment is
The
what
2%.
I mentioned, the 2%. But with the Ascona case, it's often.
They want to rent their buildings again.
Exactly.
That's why they're coming to you.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
What else?
What else we do? Our mandate is also to investigate any case that comes before us. That comes from the landlord, tenant, or anybody who is interested in that apartment, and then make determination. Okay, so these are some of the things we do.
What do you investigate? What do you investigate?
We investigate any complaints that come before us. One issue is maybe a tenant is dwelling in your apartment, due the rent as expired. Okay, you don't have the right to forcefully eject that tenant. When you look at section 17, subsection 1A, it tells that the tenant has no right to owe you, the landlord, a month's rent. But if the tenant is owing you a month or two rent, you don't have the right to forcefully take the tenant belongings outside. You don't have the right to take the roofing. You don't have the right to even deny the person of any utility. The issue you have to report to the rent control. Then we do our investigation, and then we will order the tenant out of your premises, or the magistrate will order the tenant out of your premises. But you as a landlord, if the tenant has caused nuisance, is using the place for illegal purposes, his tenancy has expired, just as I mentioned, you don't have the right to forcefully eject that person.
What does the landlord have the right to do?
To report to the rent control department, where we invite the two of you, do an investigation before we order the person if the person has gone contrary to the act.
Are you in every district of this country?
We are supposed to be in the 260 districts. We are now in 58 offices.
Out of?
Out of the 260. But what is interesting is that one district is 7 adjacent districts. That means that there are a lot of districts in the country, especially in the up north there, where we get only one case in a year. So citing an office in such a district is just a waste of resources.
But one case a year just doesn't mean that there's only one case. It just means that that is the one case that has been reported to you. And if your officers are covering multiple districts, are they not overstretched?
Yeah, so they are not overstretched. What it means is that if you are in a district, at least you take 1 or 2 districts adjacent to you. What I mentioned is the case as I just reported. If the whole district can report one rent case for us to investigate in a whole year, if you cite an office there, you are going to waste resources. But what is interesting that we are discussing, there's a discussion ongoing that for the repeal of this act. So the bill which will come, we are discussing that every district office or every district assembly will be mandated to provide office for the rent control department, where we will only send our officers to go and man that place.
Okay, let's bring some questions here. So I asked landlords and tenants to respond, give us their rent stories.
Yeah.
Now, this is a landlord who says, she's called Oba, she says, the joy in taking 2 years rent advance, so sweet. I can imagine that it is so bitter for a tenant to be paying 2 years in advance. What does the law say about taking 2 years in advance?
Okay, so straightly, under section 25, subsection 5 of the Rent Act, it talks about offenses. And subsection 5 reads, with your permission, it says, any person who has a condition of grant, renewal or continuance of a tenancy demands in the case of monthly, a short tenancy, the payment in advance or more than a month's rent, or in the case of a tenancy exceeding 6 months, the payment in advance for more than 6 months shall be guilty of an offense, and upon conviction be liable to a fine not exceeding 10,000 cedis or a term of imprisonment not exceeding 2 years.
You are saying that a landlord can go to jail for
2 years maximum.
For taking how much rent?
For taking more than 6 months rent advance if it comes to a long tenancy. I'm trying to explain. There are 2 types of tenancy. We have short tenancy, which is below 6 months, and a long tenancy, which is beyond 6 months. So when it's short tenancy, the law demands that you have no right to take more than 1 month's rent from that person if you sign that tenancy agreement.
And then for long? For
long, you can sign an agreement for 5 years, 2 years, beyond 6 months. But when it comes to payment, the law demands that you should take a block of 6 months to the person's tenancy expires.
Let me ask you a question, Mr. Kposu.
Yes.
I know you can go to jail. Can you go to jail for this?
Yes, you can go to jail
for
a maximum of 2 years.
2 years, or you can
a fine of 10,000
cedis. How many? When was the last time you have prosecutorial powers? Can you take people to court?
Yeah, we take people to under Section 5. We have the prosecutor, but of course we have to take permission or the grant from the Attorney General.
Have you taken permission from the Attorney General recently to take landlords to court?
Let me explain. The issue is that we have the right to do that prosecution through the power of the Attorney General, or give that power to the prosecutors who are already.
Have you done it?
Yes, we have some landlords which have been lying before the magistrate. We are just waiting for the verdict to come out so that we can bring the statistics out.
In your history, how long have you worked at rent control?
Personally?
Yes.
Personally, I'm within my 3 years.
Good.
Yeah.
In your 3 years, has any landlord been convicted of taking more?
No, not. You see, the issue we realize, you see, this education should have gone on since 1960.
No, I think
even beyond.
Yes.
So for the past 3 years, we've intensified our educational program so that landlords and tenants will know their rights and their responsibilities.
Do you think it's more of an enforcement issue and not education? Because education has been happening for a long time, but landlords basically can get away with what they want. Adam says, my landlord increased the rent by 10%, while my salary increment was 4%. Okay, I read that. Miriam says, mine was $350, it was increased to $450, I believe, per month. And she took 2 years upon all the begging. There's no water in the house to GH.
Yes,
what are her rights there? What are her rights? What are Mariam's rights there?
So her right is that no landlord has the right to come out with any rent for his or apartment. Under Section 19, say no landlord or other person interested in any premises shall collect the increase in rent attributable in an increase in rate in respect of any period before such increased rate were assessed. So when you've done any improvement, when the iron rod price has gone up, the cement price has gone up, even the road around your vicinity has been tarred, and the environment is nice, you have no right to base on this to increase your rent without coming to rent control for us to come and do the assessment. So the issue about landlords...
It is happening. I mean,
yes,
the law is beautiful, beautiful English, big English.
That's fine.
On the ground, things are happening. Okay. Landlords are having a field day. Agents are a major cause of rent increment in the country, says Cabinet Justice. They will tell the landlord to wait till they bring them a good price, thereby increasing rent at a faster pace, while some landlords compare the amount taken by other landlords in the same area and try to act the same. What does our law say about agents?
Okay, so before agents, if you want the law to work, it's a collective responsibility. You know, rent control cannot be everywhere at the same time. That's why we are empowering tenants that if any landlord demands or collect more than 6 months rent from your, just come to the rent control. If you come and you make the report and we don't do anything about it, then you can point accusing figures. But the issue about...
And then if the person gets ejected and the tenant says, I don't need you again, let's bring somebody else who won't give you
under Section 27, it talks about inducement. If you report any landlord who is trying to collect more than the recoverable rent from you, if you report any landlord who is trying to take more than 6 months rent advance, the landlord has no right to evict you. That will constitute an inducement, and there's a penalty attached to it. So the issue about agents, it's under Section 25(1)(c), every person with respect of any premises, being or acting as an agent or broker, go between demand or receive for its services in connection with the procuring of any grant, renewal or continuance or assessment of a tenancy, any condition which exceeds 5% per annum of the recoverable rent for a year of such premises constitute it is an offense. Okay. So what this means is that if an agent introduce somebody, we call them prospecting tenants, because they are prospecting for accommodation. If they introduce to the landlord and they like the place, the landlord has to give them that tenancy agreement. Okay. If they read and understand that they sign, then they will make payment. So the rent advance that they will pay, the landlord is supposed to give them 5% of that rent advance. Okay. But it's not the duty of the tenant to make that payment. They collect 10% here. But what is interesting is that the discussion I told you about the repealing of this bill, we've instituted in there that we are going to train them, license them, and then be publishing their names, so that if you go contrary to any of the provision, we just withdraw your certificate or license. And then so anybody want to deal with accredited people can look on the list and then deal with them.
Briefly before we go, under what circumstances can a landlord eject a tenant?
Yes, so that can be seen under Section 17. If the landlord is coming to dwell in personally, the landlord can come and then file the what we call order of eviction.
Okay.
Of course, if the tenant is owing a month's rent, okay, it can come. If the tenant...
You know that's not possible. You owe 2 years. You pay 2 years. Nobody can owe 1 month. So this is not even compatible.
It works. It works. Let's assume you pay your 6 months or the first block. The second 20, you will not pay more than 6 months.
Okay.
The landlord can come in.
All right.
Of course, if you cause nuisance in somebody's or annoyance in somebody's premises, the person use the place for illegal and immoral purposes.
Okay.
The landlord can recover his possession.
And finally, whose responsibility is it to take inventory of the facilities in the room before a tenant moves in?
Yeah, both.
Both of you.
Both landlords, so that you inspect the place, know how the place is, so that when you are moving out, you make sure you leave it as it is.
What's your last comment on this the rent bill?
Yes, so the Rent Act, as we want all landlords and tenants that they should, especially landlords, if you want to venture in such commercial venture, make sure you learn the rules and regulations that governs it, so that all of us will live in peace.
Emmanuel Hove Bosu is the Public Relations Officer for Rent Control Department, talking about rent issues. Landlords, tenants, we'd like to hear from you. Hashtag GTV Breakfast. Still a conversation with Oscar Provençal. There's a STEM conversation as well, and we're keeping an eye. Keep an eye right here. This is where you need to have your breakfast. GTV Breakfast, back in the mode.
Coming live from the capital, this is the Breakfast Show.
Are you ready? It's heat hot, and we are serving you breakfast. A la carte.
It's a brand new packaged breakfast served on GTV, our style, keeping you on track and updated on
news, making the headlines, how to navigate traffic,
what's up with the weather,
your health check, getting you up to speed on lifestyle,
sports,
what of showbiz, what's hot and what's not.
It's our date in the morning just for you, with the team you can trust.
It's breakfast weekdays at 6 a.m.
Don't be late.
Peseye dawasio eja ye kutuo nyamiye eseseye dawasio
Yes, and we are still live on the Breakfast Show on GTV. Right now, we'll go and keep an eye on what's happening at Ashaiman Underbridge, and my colleague is there now to give us details. What can you tell us about the current situation and how is it affecting traffic flow there?
All right, thank you. So this morning on Keep an Eye, we are trying to throw a spotlight on the Ashaiman Underbridge. This place has a long and checkered history. So this place is just one way for those coming and going. And this morning we want to highlight some of the challenges that the residents here have been, peculiar challenges that the residents here have been facing. So with me this morning is the assemblyman for Clagon. He's in the person of Honorable Ugo Henry, but everybody calls him Bishop. And he's here with some of his unit committee members who are here to support him. Good morning, Honorable. You're welcome.
Good morning.
Yeah, so welcome to the Breakfast Show.
Thank you.
Yeah. So this bridge we are seeing here, how long? Can you give us a brief history about this bridge?
Yes, first of all, let me greet the people of Klago. And then the bridge here, underpass that we passed under, was constructed during Nkrumah's era. And from that time up to now, this is the place that the cars are passing to get to the other side of Ashama. But information reaching us through the research we did, we realized that even the underpass was constructed purposely because of cattle, animals, who cross from the other side to the animal husbandry to go and feed and comes back, not purposely for cars or human use. But because we don't have any alternative, everybody uses that one. If you are going to Ashama, you use here. If you are from Ashama, you are coming towards Nungwa, you use here. So that is why you can see that everybody is using this place. And then it's a one-way something. From Klago coming, it's a dual carriage road. But immediately you get to the underbridge, it becomes one.
Why is that?
We don't know. We don't know. The authorities has promised us a lot of times that they want to fix this place for us. But up to now, it's not fixed. During almost about 9 years ago, when I was the assemblyman then, I made a lot of noise about this, but there was not any outcome.
Because I see they've started some work on the roads over here, but I don't. Why would you say the work has stopped, or they are still on it?
Yes, they stopped the cars of crossing the underpass for 2 weeks, and they did distance because the highway director was here to come and then look at what was happening here. Then he said they will work on it, and they started, but it got to a point the contractor has left site. Actually, we don't know why he left site. If you call him, it will have his own reasons that is not at the site.
Will one of them be the fact that maybe he's not able to expand the bridge?
No, he was just supposed to do the dual carriage road up to this place. Okay. Then before they would look at it. But the last time the road minister himself, currently the road minister, came around, and then he was telling the directors that they should make sure that the bridges that they are going to build, or the overheads that they are going to build this time around, Greater Accra region, they should remember Klago. Wow. And when he said that, we were happy. And we thought by now some works would have started going on.
So what happens now in terms of traffic when it's like peak rush hour?
Actual fact, we have a lot of problems here. One, on the motorway side, people try to cross there because human beings don't pass here. People try to cross to the Ashama side. Car hit them on the motorway.
Which side exactly?
That is around where the trees are.
Well, where the trees?
Yes, people cross there to Ashama.
Okay.
Those who walk.
Okay.
And the cars too pass here. And the sympathy issue is, if somebody is sick in Klago right now, and you move, and you don't go back to Shalom Spot to connect the motorway, then you can get to General Hospital, forget it. If the traffic is choked here, you can't go. If it's choked at Ashama side, you can't go.
Yeah, I understand right now there are presently a lot of cars which are currently waiting to come through as we are speaking.
Yes.
Yeah.
As these cars are moving to Ashama, you go to the Ashama side, there will be a traffic there which cross. And it's a mess to the drivers and everybody. Yeah. You can see from where they did the asphalt up to, the road is rough. And you come and turn the serious traffic again here, it's not good. And workers that work in Ashama, sometimes they suffer. And people that stay in Ashama and work around Sakumono, work in around Nungwa area, this is the only road they need to use to their work side.
Okay.
Business people, you are going for your business, you come and be stuck here, especially people that are going to Nungwa or Ashama. So here is a help. Yeah. So what I would like to say is, I would like to put the government very well.
So right now the traffic is coming towards Clark.
Yes,
and heading towards Lashibi and all that.
Yes.
So right now we are wrapping up the conversation.
Yeah.
I want you to make an appeal to the authorities, like the road minister you mentioned and all that. So if they can come and help you, I understand for a fact that with the Sprinters underpass, that one is a 2-lane, it's 12 lane. So that one, it makes it easier for road commuters. Yes. Would you like to?
What I want to tell the authority, from the top to the last person who matters, I'm pleading with everybody that matters. The road minister, please have a look at Kalago, have a look at Ashama, because if you get to Flower Pot area, we have similar problem there. And then they were suffering like us we are suffering.
Jay.
But if you get to that area, they did a double underpass for people to pass. So I'm pleading with the minister. If you have a look at we, the people of Klago, we pregnant women going to hospital, they will come and stack here, people that are sick. We, the people of Klago, or we, the people in Tamawesi here, we are equally important, like people that stays around
Thank you so much. So this
thank you so much, Jay, for giving us those details, for helping us keep an eye on what's happening in the Ashaiman area, and that appeal going to the Roads Ministry and other ministries in charge of ensuring that that situation is solved. Thank you, Jay Gabra, for keeping us updated. Right now, we are having that conversation about science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. I'm sure you're remembering all your pi square days and the tangent and the cos 90 and all that. But it's a conversation on the importance of STEM, and we understand that it's an interdisciplinary curriculum that is taking the world by storm, and it is increasingly recognized as pivotal in national development in the 21st century. Governments globally are making methodical switch in policies to turn attention to artificial intelligence and other software, and this is improving critical thinking, creativity, problem solving, and adaptation. We also heard about input in robotics, and recently the Mamfi Methodist girls, they've won the international competition 2 years in a row. GBC News was honored to have told the story from the school from Mamfi in the eastern region, and all that is made possible by the improvements in science and technology. So today we will explore how to make deliberate efforts towards making STEM, so science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, some of the most loved subjects, as against them being some of the most hated subjects. And to help us to understand some of these details, we have the Vice Chancellor of the Pentecost University in the person of Professor Ajapong Kodia. Prof, welcome.
Thank you very much, Thelma.
We're excited to see some of the changes that have been made possible by science, technology, engineering, and mathematics.
Sure.
But systematically, those particular subjects have been the most hated. You've studied it extensively, and you've obviously loved it. What has accounted for the hatred, and how have people like you overcome the apathy towards the study of science and technology and mathematics?
Right, thank you very much, Thelma. It's a timely question. Let me start with my own life. I remember my days in secondary school. We were 150 in the class. My first mathematics test, I was 149th. Goodness.
Second from the bottom.
Yes, I thank God for the last person. Otherwise, I would have been the 150th.
First from the bottom.
So we're talking about a real issue, and I know our audience out there are individuals who are struggling with maths. I just want to connect with them and make it real that that could be the case with individuals. But then there is a call for a systematic transition from that fear. How do we do that? I'll get into a bit of logic and history over here. The problem we have with the educational system is that we are teaching science, we are teaching technology, we are teaching engineering, we are teaching mathematics as if they exist on their own. But in fairness, when these components are integrated into a product, then the learning of the individual disciplines no longer become difficult. You made mention of tangent, cos theta, and all that. Assuming I went to class and I start teaching about adjacent, opposite, tangent, and these are complex concepts. But what we forget about is that those who introduced this concept to us were already building stuff. They were developing things. Then out of their development, they derived the science and the mathematics. It wasn't the other way around. So say somebody is building, and now he's measured and he knows that this is the height. He's checked the horizontal, he's measured. Then he knows that, oh wow, so from that tip to the bottom, this is the length. And then we are going to call it hypotenuse. So we went to class being taught concepts which were not real, which were not practical to us, whereas the originators were actually deriving this concept from practice.
Exactly, because we find people asking, for example, what has pi r square added to my life since I left school? Because we've learned to just memorize the theories, and we do not see how it actualizes in our regular day-to-day lives.
Fantastic, Thelma, you're right. So if I take this bottle and say, I know someone is thirsty, in a day he needs about 4 of these, 500 milliliters and all that, then straight away I can be thinking about how to measure the base. This is a circle. This is something we may be describing as pi r square, an area of a circle. But in actual fact, it is literally measuring this. So if we move from a theory-based teaching to a practically oriented style of teaching, we will see that the learning of math, science, engineering, mathematics, and all that become very simple. Thelma, if we have a bit of time, let me pause over here and maybe show the distinction. It will help. When we're talking about science, I know the differences between these disciplines are thin, but it's important we recognize the difference. Science is basically about identifying nature, what is into this. So if I have water, what is the component of water? Hydrogen, oxygen, 2 molecules of hydrogen, oxygen, and all that. That is science. Okay. To let this water flow from one point to another point is engineering. And this is where, as a nation, we have to be very careful, because sometimes when we overdwell on just the explanation, we don't produce anything out of it. We need to integrate the explanation into something. So now the flowing of water from one side to another is now getting into engineering, you get into civil, hydraulics, and all those sort of things. When I have been able to develop a system that consistently will cause water to flow from one angle to another angle, I have developed a water system technology. Okay. But in doing that, I had to calculate the distance. I had to measure. I had to do this. Then mathematics come in. So you see that they are uniqueness, but sometimes we overdwell on one. They are actually interlinked. And I'm glad that STEM is now looking at how to integrate this. But one key point I'm trying to make them is that the approach to STEM must be product-based. Otherwise, it's still going to be very difficult.
So how do we, again, address the apathy and the phobia that people have for STEM subjects in school? We can't even have a conversation about, for example, mathematics without acknowledging the contributions of Professor Sijopa Anku, who passed away and was buried recently, God rest his soul. And so he dedicated so much of his life trying to make some of these things possible. What should we do?
Bless his soul. He did so great, and it's the same call that I stand for, because I feel that knowledge must be packaged in a way that everyone can access. Mathematics as it is, science, technology, and all that are more or less like silos of excellence reserved for some bright individuals. But I told you my story that when I started, I feel I almost became last in it. But I got into an environment where these same concepts were translated into product. When I talk about product, I'm literally talking about artifacts, things around us. Thelma, if perchance you were to make this table, then you had all the materials over there. I don't think you're going to struggle to know that I've got to put this here. But if I make this abstract and make it look like it's some complex calculation that I have to do it, then of course it's going to be reserved for some individuals who have got that ability. To make mathematics, engineering, science, and all that simple, we now have to go towards product realization. There's a point I'm trying to make over here, Thelma. You see, things were done before their science were derived. It's extremely important. We make it look like science leads to the product, but things were done. Let's take a farmer on a cassava plantation and all that. Do we need to teach the boy of this old farmer who knows how to grow cassava, do we need to teach him cassava agricultural science before he plants the cassava stick?
No.
Let's think about it the other way. If this same person is helped through his local farming to now understand agricultural science, compare this individual versus someone who has no field experience who is teaching agricultural science. So the gap actually in all this was when we had two parallel streams of people, one practically oriented, we had the auto mechanics, we have the welders and all those guys over there. Then we also had another stream of people who were busy with physics, chemistry and all that. And there was a gap between the two. But we need to now bring them together.
So we are talking about combining what we call home sense with book sense.
Absolutely.
And breaking that jinx. We know that systematically in our educational system, STEM, so STEM subjects, have been regarded as a preserve for the more intelligent of the graduating class. Sure. So you find people who have 06, 07 and whatnot, single digit aggregates, being absorbed into the sciences and the mathematics and then the engineering fields. And then they take the next batch of people and put them into maybe accounting, and which is also mathematics, and then they put the next batch into probably the arts and vocational and technical skills. So how do we then ensure that this does not continue? Because, for example, art students, majority of them believe that, well, we are not, I'm choosing my word carefully, we are not STEM-minded. So I don't want to say we are not intelligent enough to understand the same concept, but how do we make sure that chain is broken so that even arts and people who do not find that they have strength in STEM will appreciate the principles that they offer?
Okay, thank you very much, Thelma, on that. I'll always go back to the product. Okay, if we view STEM from a product perspective, then straight away we will see that it is not those who are just mathematically good who fit into the STEM bracket. It is not those who are scientifically oriented. We should be careful not to underestimate the intellectual capacity or requirement of individuals in this discipline, because these are hardcore stuff. But hardcore to achieve what? This is where my input comes in. If I'm to cite an example, one of my best PhD students, although I serve as an engineer, one of my best PhD students had a background in textiles, visual arts, and all that. Why was he the best? He was the best because he was bringing into a scientific discipline knowledge sets which are not original to common scientists. Okay, so we need to now focus on what needs to be done. Okay, back to your question on, okay, we are reserving some courses for some bright guys. Good, but we should be careful that people are not doing programs because of their aggregate. It should be based on interest. So I may have aggregate 6, all right, but I may not necessarily be a scientist. So if you tie it to that grade, then you are compelling individuals who equally could have been excellent in other disciplines, finding themselves that once I've had 6, I've got to go into hardcore medicine and all that. Okay, that is one point. The other point is, Thelma, if we fully understand science, then you will see that even in medicine, it is not all who will become surgeons. It is not all who will become general practitioners and all that. There are other disciplines that people of arts are required. I didn't do well in biology because I felt I was more physics and all that. But I had interest in taking care of individuals. You know what I've contributed to medicine? When I advanced in my maths, physics and all that, I became a technologist. But my focus was also in trying to provide support for medical care, and therefore I went into biomedics and all that, trying to develop technologies and tools for healthcare support and all that back in the days in the UK. So the point I'm trying to make, sorry I'm maybe all over the place, but the point I'm trying to make here is that it shouldn't be the reserve of just some bright intellectual guys, not underestimating the requirement though, but it should be open to based on interest.
And also the approach to teaching, the methodology to imparting knowledge on science, technology, engineering and mathematics, which makes the STEM component, has been found to be very problematic and stifling of budding interest. So how do we work around that? How do we get teachers to adopt modes of teaching which would be much more easily absorbed by those who even fear the subject the most?
There are 4 layers to that, Thelma. Let's pick on the first one. We must have teachers or intellectuals who are product-centered. Maybe I need to expand this concept, because for me that is core to it. In other places, term is approached this way. There will be a call from a unit, from government and all that, looking at trends and patterns. For example, if we want to go into aircraft manufacturing, or we want to go into autonomous cars, robotics and all that, there will be a call. Then professors will be invited to write, to explain how they are going to realize that research. So we're talking about research-based learning. Once you put a teacher or a lecturer into projects, then he's going to use that knowledge he's acquiring in the project to now teach the student. Why I refer to the product approach. Otherwise, we're still going to have these silos of excellence. So the first step would be to have a core, professors applying to it. Now, when we come to university or schools level, then we now use project-based approach. As in, let's engage with industries. What are the problems over there? Let's get to the field. What are the issues over there? Let's develop this into research projects so that no individual would ever complete a university or a second cycle and do a project and it would be left on the library shelves. It would actually be solving problems in industry. By doing that, we are focusing people on development. We are focusing people on proper engineering science and all that. So I've touched on the government call. The second one is the approach as in making it research-based, project-oriented. Then now with the students also, they need to be put in groups so that they will be providing support to industry. That is extremely important. In my other form of career, all I was involved was solving problems for industries. And it's amazing that in our part of the world, we make education different from what is required in industry. This gap will continue to increase until we change the method of teaching. It should be more research-based, solving the needs of industry.
So you're saying that, for example, in a typical science class, rather than perhaps the chemistry master walking up to the front of the class and writing homologous series, or in a science talking about Pythagoras theorems, they should introduce real life scenarios and explain how these theories and those equations come about from those real life theories. I'm glad that you mentioned that. Ghana's curriculum as it stands, does it support an idea like that?
Not fully. I've had time to engage with some professionals at the National Teaching Council, not fully, but thankfully there are steps to realizing that at the moment, so we're going to go there. Back to the point of homogeneous other things and all that. Just think about it this way. If you're doing fermentation and all those processes, and you had somebody from the brewery come in there to teach the students how the process goes, and you, on top of that, as an academic, now get into all the various chemistry of it, wouldn't it be a better way of providing knowledge to the younger generation? This is the gap that we are missing. We have a group of people who are industrialists, and we have a group of people who are academics. But I think the general call is to merge the two. If we want to produce a younger generation that will be STEM focused.
I mentioned earlier the particular instance of Mamfi Methodist girls and the fact that they've won robotics competitions, and we had the opportunity to tell the story of the dedication of the teachers and also for the students. What we found interesting in that particular report was the fact that they were doing the robotics as an extracurricular activity. So it was not streamlined, it was not mainstream in the curriculum, and that's why I asked you about the. So to what extent have those conversations gone, and what's the response like from probably the Ghana Education Service and the Ministry of Education to make the integration of these real life scenarios and then science, technology, engineering and mathematics education linked?
Well, Thelma, I'm glad you've asked that. Thankfully, there's a lot of effort towards this direction as we speak. I'm aware that the Minister of Education, Honorable Yao Edichum, is pioneering this, and I'm even involved in some consultative meetings on STEM and all that. So this is exactly what is being considered. The current curriculum would need to be enhanced, but enhanced to what? Enhanced to a new way of thinking where the development of products, processes and resources becomes central to the learning of our younger generation, and that is being worked on carefully. And I'm glad that the direction is towards that. Congratulations to the secondary school that did well in the robotics. But if you allow me, the other thing we need to do with robotics is that if we are not careful, we will be training a generation of young people who are building robots. But the question is, robot for what? Robots don't do anything until you apply them to a process. So instead of just isolating that and developing a robot, you should be thinking about a robot which is picking and placing on a commercial line, a production line, a factory setting.
One of they had put up like a factory setting, and the robot had to move from one end and put the product on a certain line, which moved.
Fantastic.
And it was some amazing work that they were doing. So
beautiful. Well done to them.
Since we are talking about robotics and in the general conversation of science, technology, engineering, mathematics, there's a great fear among some circles that the more investment and the more interest we put into bringing these systems up, the more it will cost jobs of people who have like their hands on to be able to perform. Is that even a real threat?
It's a general concern, but thankfully I've been involved in conversations like this many times, because my PhD work and many other things had to do with automation, robotics, artificial intelligence, and this is a key question you get asked. The reality of the matter is it's a big no. We're not necessarily going to cut down on jobs. If you do the analysis carefully, you will see that the introduction of one automatic system has the tendency to develop more skills, except that it's a different kind of skill. Human beings would have to upgrade to now develop essential skills to be able to manage technical devices. So yes, of course, repetitive jobs, low-level jobs are likely to go, and whether we like it or not, we don't define the pace of industrialization. That is something we need to be careful about. The drive is hot, so we had better prepared ourselves, upgraded people to be able to reach out to these advanced technologies, get more pay, high skill, develop. Let's look at it this way. If I have a tomato plant, okay, or a tomato farm, I'm going to have a lot of laborers working, and I'm thinking I'm paying them good money and all that, yet the tomato becomes very expensive and we cannot afford. Think about automating the farm. Get some highly skilled people. You need a programmer, you need a manufacturer, you need a production line, you need a processing line. So you end up employing highly skilled people. Then those who are low can also be upgraded to do other stuff. So I think it's actually a win if we go that way.
So a win-win situation in your estimation. As we begin to wrap up, let me just ask this. So let's assume that in an ideal situation, the teacher is motivated, appropriately qualified to teach the subject in an interactive way, as you've suggested, and the student is appropriately encouraged to take more interest in the study of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, and the works of people like Professor Anku Godresi. So I go back to him because he was such an inspirational figure in STEM education, mathematics in particular. Where do people begin to get help, especially where they identify lapses and loopholes in schools, institutions, where they find themselves, so that they can turn things around?
Yeah, thank you very much, Thema. Currently, there are discussions in setting some institutions or using some of our existing institutions as catapults. In other words, centers to train teachers. I'm involved in that discussion, so I'm very confident that we're going to get far in that, so that teachers can come to these centers to train. If they need any help, they would come there.
Are those centers working now?
No.
They are now
some are being developed. I'm aware the ministry is working on that. But in the long term, we're going to have catapults, and these will be places where teachers would come for training, students will come. On the student side, I'm aware that at the moment there are science festivals where they travel to see products here and there and how they are being advanced. So in cooperation with the teacher training, exposure for students here and there, is likely that we will be able to get a response on that. But for anyone who has concern, at the moment, sorry to make this cheap advert, Pentecost University is setting itself up to become a STEM center, and we are there to help, so people can add their questions to us.
And what further opportunities are there in the STEM industry that in your course of study that we have not fully maximized in our part of the world, Ghana specifically, that we could potentially begin to look at?
I think in fairness, it's all streams of STEM, to be honest with you. Thelma, if we focus, I said this at the NTC last time, if we focus on mathematics, if we focus on science, if we focus on technology and engineering, we will still be the same way we are. because we are already doing that. What we are talking about is an integrated knowledge set to produce stuff. The manufacturer or the producer leads the pace. What we do well in is explaining things, but we need to do things. This is the path that I feel we should be going, and we have been lacking. My humble appeal to all is that let's approach this in an integrated fashion so that going forward we are thinking product. Great respect to our colleagues who are not in the science discipline. But Thelma, what I've realized is any industry that is producing or any nation that is producing, all the other disciplines become affected. Law becomes affected because we need to look at product integrity, we need to look at businesses here and there. Social science and all the other disciplines become very affected, and the economy booms. So it is not necessarily a little spot of scientists being developed. It is a piece of meal for everyone to tap into. This is where I feel we are lacking, and we should be driving strong towards it.
So the people who are leading the fight to bring STEM education closer together and to tell us what the links are, what level of collaboration should exist across the sectors so that we all realize that common goal that we want to see? Because there are some who are dedicated to one field or one or two. What should be the level of link? What should be the coexistence?
At the lower level, there will be this uniqueness, science, maths, and all that. But it should become more or less like pyramidal. As we get to the top, I will start from the consultative meetings we have in government, industrialists, the academy, coming together to define a common goal. Where do we want to be in the next 5 years as a nation? What industrial tools do we want to develop? This should be decomposed into research courses, okay? Then universities would apply. So universities will now be working and developing courses towards that. This should further be decomposed into sub-projects at the secondary school level so that students are working on that. It should even further filter to the primary school so that young people are also considering that. It should come to homes. So you see, there's the stakeholder consultation which has started last time at the NTC. I was involved in that. Then it comes to the university, it comes to the secondary school, it comes to the primary school. When all these units are coordinated carefully, I'm sure we're setting ourselves up to be successful as a nation.
Thank you so much, Prof. I don't know if you have any final comments, 30 seconds before
all right, thank you. Thanks for the opportunity, and thanks to all those who have been listening to us. My final word is that STEM must be seen as integrated approach to our development. My eye is on the so-called waysiders who are very good, the artisans. Let's have a way of bringing them on board together with those who are in formal education. We need their skill. They need a formal knowledge also. When we do that, we will have a unique kind of STEM that other nations are not even recognizing. Once more, thank you very much.
Thank you. Professor Echepon Kodia is the Vice Chancellor of the Pentecost University, and he's also an engineer, so he knows a lot about this subject that we've been talking about. We've been discussing science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, which the acronym STEM is set from, and he's just told us about all the ways we can incorporate the study of these subjects into our daily lives, and how our daily life should be used as a basis for teaching these subjects and not the other way around. So I'm sure we'll have further engagements. We're seeing all the comments you're sending on Facebook, and so those of you who have phobia for these subjects, maybe it's time to consider loving it more and then adding your own creativity to the technology available. You're watching #GTV Breakfast, and breaking news at the Kwame Nkrumah interchange area, popularly called Circle in Accra. We are being told that members of the PSWU are embarking on a strike, and that is breaking news. It's a developing story. My colleague Daryl Allen is on location, and he will speak to one of the conveners, and let's see the scenes from Circle now.
Okay. Hello viewers, and welcome to the Opera Sport in Accra Circle, to be precise, the Kwame Nkrumah Circle. The noise you can hear from me is not from excited members of the public. It is rather public sector workers who are protesting against the recent increases in their salaries. You will recall that organized labor engaged the government recently to ensure that at least there is some increases to their salaries and also conditions of service, as it were. government proposed a 4% increase for 2021 and then a 7% increases for 2022, hopefully. But organized labor isn't happy about it. And so they said notice that today, being the 18th of August 2021, they're going to stage a protest in order to get government to come back to the table for negotiation for an upwards adjustment. I have the lead convener with me, Norbert Gbagboji Master is here with me. He is the lead convener of organized labor, and I'm going to speak to us. Let me turn to him and welcome him. Welcome, Mr. Gbagboji.
Thank you very much.
There seems to be a small crowd rather behind you. What will account for that?
You know, this kind of demonstration is a demonstration that you wouldn't expect to have that much crowd, because it's a demonstration that is perceived to be against a particular group of people. So you have those forces fighting you. Secondly, it is also showing that the 4% is not enough for people to be able to come along with in terms of their TNT from far and near. And it is also telling us that not everyone can also show their faces on this kind of demonstration to tell government that what is happening to us or what is happening against public sector workers, we are just not happy. So with the numbers, we are not perturbed at all, because there are demonstrations that are one-man demonstrations. That is a one-man demonstration that actually brought results to the people. So we are not afraid, we are not discouraged, and we will make it happen.
Government has not said it will not look after you. Government has said accept the 4% today, tighten your belt with government, and in 2022 there's going to be a 7% increases. Why wouldn't you take that?
We tightened our belt in 2019, 2020. Let me say, we tightened our belt in 2019, 2020. Then in 2021, 2022, you are repeating same. Is government also tightening its belt? Is government also tightening its belt?
Well, you be the best to answer. You be the best person to answer that question.
So, what we are saying is that to say that we should tighten our belt whilst the executive losing their belt is nothing to, we cannot go by that. So what we are saying is that government, together with public sector, must all have the same percentage. Either than that, Professor Ntiamoe's report is stating clearly that whatever is given to the public sector, same must be given to Article 71 office holder. If that is the case, we don't have a problem. But if that is not the case, recently we were told that the first lady and second lady were being paid. Where are they paid from? Where is the president being paid from? If you are giving public sector workers 4%, are you giving public sector workers a separate market to operate with? Or we are going to go into the same market with Article 71 office holder? So what we are saying is that the 4% is something we cannot survive with. So we reject it. They should go back to the negotiation table and renegotiate.
Well, but government hasn't said there's no deal on the table. Hold this for now, and in 2022, you have a 7% increase. Before you respond to that, let me bring in the police commander on the ground who is ensuring your safety to also share his views with us. Good morning and welcome to GTV Breakfast. Officer, could you please tell us your name?
My name is Chief Inspector Kwabena Danso, Deputy PRO, Regional Police Headquarters.
I know your duty on the ground is to ensure safety of both the protesters and also members of the public. How far has the protesters behaved themselves so far as the protest is concerned?
There's no concern yet. They are still gathering. And for that matter, the police has also putting in place enough men. We've deployed enough men to ensure that the demonstration is incident-free.
We have seen demonstrations in Ghana go pear-shaped. By the end of it, people get violent and the rest of them. What have you put in place to ensure that should this spill over into any unexpected occurrences, you would nip that in the bud?
We believe that it will be incident-free. And for that matter, the police has deployed enough men. Talking in terms of traffic control, the MTTD have been positioned at traffic intersection to ensure the free flow of traffic. As you are seeing, this is the starting point. When we start from here, we'll move through Kwame Nkrumah Avenue. When we get to Farisco traffic light, we'll turn left and continue to City House, and then continue, and our final destination will be the Independence Square. And we believe everything will be fine.
Before I let you go, has recent demonstrations, not too long ago we had one with Fit the Country, and you and your men were on the ground, and then this has come up. Has the continuous protestations across the country put any toll on the police service?
The police is there to ensure security. So far, the police is firm in control of all the demonstrations, including the one that is going to be held today.
Okay, Chief Inspector, I'll let you go now. Thank you very much, and God be with you in your ensuring peace and sanity with these protesters. Thank you very much for speaking to GTV Breakfast. I'm going to have to go back to the convener of the protest, organized labor's convener, Mr. Norbert Gbagboji, to take his views and then hand back to you in the studio. Mr. Gbagboji, I mentioned earlier that government hasn't said there's no deal any longer on the table. Government is saying take 4 and in 2022 take 7. Why would you reject that?
Why do you think we should take 4 and take 7? Because are you talking about productivity? Are you talking about there is no money? If there is no money, where are those taking the 79% taking their monies from? This public sector workers, we have a coffers, and we know that that coffers is responsible for what we are talking about. So if it is something we all do not have, we do not have. But some section of the public won't have, whilst others will have to wait. So what we are saying is that if it must be done, it must be done well. If we are all taking for now, let's all take. If we are not taking, let the executive come and tell us that due to ABC, they are unable to take their salary, and that they are reducing whatever they have for today and making sure that in the next 2 years to come, they will take nothing. Then with that, we will go with the 4%. Because with the 4%, we are going to the market. And as we go to the market, with that 4%, we'll have to go and meet the 13%, the 20%, the 25%, and the 40% in the market. So we think that the 4% cannot compete with all these percentages.
Finally, Mr. Gbagboji, what happens after this demonstration if not government doesn't come at the table or change its mind position on the 4%?
Government should not be happy with our numbers, because there are so many plans on the table that could help disturb maybe the peace of the country, and we wouldn't like to go that angle. Should government not listen to us, all those activities we have planned, we will unleash them.
Well, viewers, you heard it from Mr. Norbert Gbagboji, the convener of the organized labor protest here at the Kwame Nkrumah Circle, or Brasport to be precise. If government won't come to the table, they have other things up their sleeves to unleash on government. This has been Keep an Eye at the Kwame Nkrumah Circle, bringing you live whatever is happening with the organized labor public sector workers protest. Back to you in the studio.
Thank you, Alan. Thank you so much for giving us those details. So PSW, organized labor protesting 4% salary increase. Mr. Norbert Gbagboji saying the 4% is unacceptable and they cannot survive on that increase, and asking for tightening of belts across the board, so between workers and government officials, Article 71 office holders he mentioned specifically, so that everybody manages the 4% and nobody has to manage 4%, while there are 13, 17 and other percentage increases on the market. So Alan giving us those details and some of your messages on, for example, our Facebook stream, Melina Ababuating, watching live from Pentecost Convention Center. God bless my VC. The VC was here to talk about STEM education just before we broke into that developing story at Circle, and we had the opportunity to engage him on the subject of science, technology, and engineering and mathematics. And some of you have sent comments through. I just want to read a few of them. Peggy Amadonko saying, the youngest VC in Ghana. Thank you for sending that message across. Is it Noscar? Thanks for the link. I never knew GTV streams live. We stream live. Follow us on our Facebook pages, follow us on social media, and follow us on other platforms as well. You always catch all our live programs streaming live on those platforms. There's one from a senior high school student, and I just want to find that quickly and maybe try and get some answers. And trust me, once you ask us a question, our team will work to find you some answers. So do keep those questions coming in. I think I may have skipped it a bit, so I'm not getting any more on this screen, but do keep your comments coming in. Some of you are asking how you can improve your teaching and learning of science and technology and engineering mathematics subjects, and we'll try and get the Vice Chancellor to answer some of the questions and then respond to your messages. Right now we are seated, Valerie is seated with that impeccable inspector, theater inspector, actor inspector. So in his fictional life, he's Inspector Bediako. Who is he in his real life, and where do those two sides meet? Find out in this next conversation with Valerie after the break.
Live on GBC Studio 1, this is The Breakfast Show.
And they call me Eugene. When you need a shoulder to cry, run on my pamper, so we try our suicide. Let bygone be bygone. I didn't see what the button gonna do. We go straight to stardom. I'm gonna take you to next level. My baby, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Energy next level. But baby, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Take you to next level. My baby, oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
I don't code next level. Excess speaking can be detrimental to health. Not recommended for persons under 18 years, lactating mothers, pregnant women, and people sensitive to caffeine. This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the FDA.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Are you looking for an opportunity to learn and grasp the Quran with style and excitement? Then search no further, because the National Quranic Recital Competition is here. Children 13 years and below will be selected from the Greater Accra, Northern and Ashanti regions to demonstrate their prowess. Which region will emerge victorious and which region will sit at the tail of the ladder in the maiden edition of the National Quranic Recital?
Coming live from the capital, this is The Breakfast Show.
Are you ready? It's heat hot, and we are serving you breakfast. A la carte.
It's a brand new packaged breakfast served on GTV, our style, keeping you on track and updated on
news making the headlines, how to navigate traffic,
what's up with the weather,
your health check, getting you up to speed on
lifestyle,
sports,
word of showbiz, what's hot and what's not.
It's our date in the morning just for you, with the team you can trust.
It's breakfast weekdays at 6 a.m.
Don't be late. Are you ready? It's heat hot, and we are serving you breakfast. A la carte.
It's a brand new packaged breakfast served on GTV, our style. Keeping you on track and updated on
News making the headlines. How to navigate traffic.
What's up with the weather?
Your health check. Getting you up to speed on
lifestyle,
sports,
word of showbiz, what's hot and what's not.
It's our date in the morning just for you, with the team you can trust.
It's breakfast, middays at 6 a.m.
Don't be late.
Coming live from the capital, this is the Breakfast Show.
Are you ready? It's heat hot, and we are serving you breakfast. A la carte.
It's a brand new packaged breakfast served on GTV, our style. Keeping you on track and updated on
news making the headlines. How to.
So as promised, we have none other than, we like to call him Inspector Bediako in the studios of GTV. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Oscar.
Thank you,
Inspector Bediako. So that fictional character has lived with you probably since you started that Inspector Bediako series. How many years has it been?
Oh, good grief. I think it's somewhere in 94 or something like that.
Right.
My memory is not very good these days.
That's fine.
Look at the gray hair.
A lot of people do not know you as Oscar. Everybody knows you as Inspector Bediako.
My Siamese twin.
So tell us how that fictional character has shaped your life over the years.
I think the first thing that I recognized was that I was very fortunate, very blessed to get that role. And it seems to have been a theme throughout my career. I was not the first Inspector Bediako. I was actually playing his sidekick, Soa. There was a gentleman called Ray Bediako who was actually playing the role. And he had to travel to the U.S. I think he joined the military or so. And so the role opened up. Now, you know, when you're casting and you're already in a role, it's very difficult to transcend to a new role. Sure. But the producers took a chance on me. Well, thank you, Honorable Kojo Yanka and O.D. Hawkins, who was a black and American script writer and a writer.
Sure.
And they took a chance on me. And, well, I guess the rest is history.
The rest is indeed history.
And you know, it's not, people always keep on saying Inspector Bediako, Inspector Bediako. It's nothing about me. I get the glory. It's just like you are sitting here and you got all the cameramen and all the crew, you know, behind the scenes. And we had a fantastic team, you know, Nadlo Momeno as the director, and a whole host, Abe Markway, I think he's still here.
Jr. was...
Brew was a guest star, but I mean, we had Eko Bedu, he played Soa.
Right, so he took your role when you got when you landed the Inspector Bediako role.
And the one and only Akosia Abdallah, you know, and we were young, we formed a fantastic team, and things just gelled, and it didn't just gel for nothing. We did a lot of research as well in the roles. I, for one, thought I was too young. I mean, I looked. I mean, did you see that?
Well, we're gonna take. Wow, that was nostalgic.
I can't believe that was me. Oh my God.
That's a younger you.
Well,
like they say, you know, fine wine. How they say, like the older it grows, the finer it becomes.
I have an advanced stage of kwashoko. I don't think I can jump the walls. At least gutter to gutter, I can do that.
We'll take it like that any day. We'll take it like that any day. Oscar, were you involved, were you and your team, were you involved in putting together the episodes, you know, and trying to unravel whatever it was? Did you base, at that time, were the episode based on like real life stories, stuff that happened? How did you put together your content?
Well, basically we had a collaboration with the Ghana Police Service. We had also fantastic writers, Ethel Kujo, and then Mr. Kwesi Yanka himself. But a lot of that was done with collaboration with the Ghana Police Service. What we sought to do, and the philosophy behind Inspector Bediako, which I believe still stands today, is really about the black man being capable of running his own affairs. And that was the main philosophy, and also not to glorify violence. You never saw us shooting or killing or anything in that. We wanted to show the intelligence of the black man. You know, he was capable to, you know, solve problems and you know, and that. And so that's the main philosophy. And even as today we're considering doing the remake of it, that's going to be the same philosophy going forward, you know. And like I said, a lot of collaboration with the police as well. And in those days, you realize that the police did not have walkie-talkies.
No.
They didn't have vehicles, you know. And so I believe that Inspector Bediako you know, managed to convince, you know, those in authority to provide these.
Logistics.
So I think we played a role in that. I'm only grateful that today I can still be called Inspector Bediako and still be relevant.
You are our Inspector Bediako. Brings me to my next question. We're going to talk content. I know you're still in the industry. We're going to talk about your awards and the movies you're working on. But are you happy with the current state of our movie industry, narrowing down to content?
Definitely not. But there's always hope on the horizon. And if you look back at the industry, there's a trend analysis.
That's an episode of Inspector Bediako playing on there.
There's a trend analysis that is there, that we've seen the industry rise and fall and rise and fall, you know, over the past 20, 30 years.
Sure.
Some have been affected by technology, some, you know,
the rise of the internet.
You know, and all of that. And so I think that we've come to a stage, you know, where the digital era has kicked in at a time that the law of diminishing returns was setting in. Well, I won't go into the reasons why. It's a long conversation. I don't know if we have the time for that.
We do not now, but we definitely have you back.
So what it means is that we now have to face up with the digital age. We don't have the cinema networks, traditional networks that were there. We don't have the traditional marketing avenues that were there, you know, CDs and so forth. And so how are we going to pick up the pieces going forward? And especially now when all those exhibition platforms are not there, we're now dealing with streaming. We're now dealing with, you know, all these
marketing and promotion.
And so we went into a phase where Ghanaian films were being shown every day on TV. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Every single day on TV. But TV is the last place you want to go and put your content.
Okay, I've never thought about it that way.
In Ghana, because you don't pay.
Okay.
So there's a dynamic in there. If you're a producer, the last place, you want to do the cinema network, you want to sell to as many Ghanaians before you put it free on air for everybody to watch. Where therefore is the incentive to go out there and buy your product if everybody is watching it for free? But for some unknown reason, producers thought that the best way, they were not being able to market any other house, so they approached the TV stations, and therefore they started giving them their films to show, many for free. And so for me, there was this kind of, you know, yes, the industry is on the rise, the industry is on the rise, but really on the ground, there was very little happening. And so we've had pockets of great success with the Shirley Frimpong Mansos, the Yvonne Nelson coming out as producers, you know, and a whole host of them that new producers we could mention. And I think going forward, what we're going to see is that we're no longer going to have this in-your-face industry.
Right.
Yeah. Even if the cinemas are open, which they are today, I mean, how much money are you going to make from premiering? If you're a producer, you're an investor. You're not there doing it for fun. You're an investor.
You need to make your money
You
out.
need to make your money back. So now you have to figure out how are you going to do it. You have YouTube, you have Netflix,
Facebook,
you have Showmax, you have
a lot.
Amazon Prime. You need to produce the right quality and the right content that will attract the audience to buy. It's as simple as that.
Why do we find we have a lot of new producers, younger ones who are actually coming out with new TV series, new movies, bits of movies, but why do we find our young movie producers and our movies grappling for space with telenovelas from Asia, Europe, even Nigeria? Why?
Once again, this is not the first time. We used to watch Acapulco Bay. We used to watch all of these telenovelas. That's why I say there's a trend analysis. If you're really not going into this, why are they showing Indian films and they're translating into, you've missed the boat. They will fill in wherever there's a gap. And there is a gap. Now it's exasperated by their dubbing into Tree. So a larger majority of Ghanaians can view it and understand it, you know. And so obviously it's going to pick traction. It's going to be more acceptable for sponsors to jump on because it's a much bigger audience. But it's all not negative. We've also created another stream for actors, voice actors, to earn an income.
Sure.
So really, I mean, we can be complaining all we want to complain, but at the heart of it all, as far as I'm concerned, is that there has to be a new narrative. The new narrative has to be a Ghanaian and an African narrative. By that I mean that, yes, we are caught up with all this foreign stuff. Now it's on the internet. How do you stop anybody from watching it? So why are you watching about TV? Why are you bothered about TV? You've got another problem on your hands. You've got Netflix, you've got DSTV, you've got Showmax, you've got the digital. You put on a TV set, you've got 40 channels. How are you going to get Ghanaians to watch Ghanaian content when it's competing with foreign content? It's only if you produce the content, you research, produce the kind of content that they want to watch.
There was a debate that came in from Kumasi, from the Kumawood side of things, and they're saying that they don't really care about content. If they can produce a movie in 3 days and you're going to get people to jump on it and sponsor them, why not? They don't care about content. Is there an act or something that sort of regulates the content that we churn out?
Well, it's impossible to regulate content on that level.
Why? Hold on. Is it that the movie industry is not under one umbrella? Why is it difficult to regulate?
Well, with the coming in of the new Film Classification Development Act 935, yes, it has been established so that it can regulate the industry. But regulating the industry is not regulating content per se. You cannot stop somebody from producing his content. Putting it on the air, in the public space.
That's what you can regulate.
That's what you can regulate. And you don't forget that in the past, it was not what was the word they used? I'm trying to get the word that they used for regulating content. Somebody help me here?
We've lost train of thought. I mean,
okay.
Is it like censors?
Yes, censorship.
Okay, good.
We no longer have censorship. So what you can tell me is that, yes, well, show it at this time, it's classified as A, it's classified as, and so forth. So that is what you can do. But actual content, if I don't meet your regulations, I'll go onto the internet. And everybody keeps on talking about film. But
film is not only about feature film. Now you're getting a lot of skits, short stories, skits being shown. People are doing 6-episode series. They're no longer doing the traditional 13 episodes.
Yeah.
You know, so the dynamics have changed considerably. And if you look at this young girl in Nigeria who's made all that money from her skits, Manuela, thank you. It shows you that the opportunities are there. How are we getting ourselves educated enough to exploit these platforms? So if you're going to think back in the old school dinosaur days and continue, the cost of production is very high today. And so maybe people are realizing that, hey, look, let me do a short skit. If it gets traction, I get 1 million views, whatever, I monetize it. It's all about monetizing your product. And we're only talking about feature films. We're not talking about documentaries. We're not talking about educational films. And we have a huge educational
Oscar, when do you think we're going to get to the point where we're going to see that all these other little parts of cinematography belong to film, and we need to give equal access and the needed importance or eye to that?
I'm hopeful that there will be an evolution. And I think this is just an evolutionary process. We must all recognize that evolution will happen. The dinosaurs were there and they went extinct and we came. It's going to happen over and over again. With the National Film Authority there, hopefully guiding the process, hopefully having a new generation of filmmakers who really understand what they're doing, who will not just see film as a tool for making money as well, but they'll see film as a tool for national development, feeding into national development.
Right.
Then we'll begin to see changes. And of course, I mean, if you don't build your capacity today, you're going to be left behind. You know, so the clarion call to everybody out there is build your capacity, improve your skill sets, and compete, because it's a very competitive market.
Improve your skill set and compete. That's something I'm taking home. Let's talk about the Cinematography Act. Where are we with it? What's happening? Does it look promising? Does it look to change our scenes? Where are we with that?
I think it's looking promising. I'm always hopeful.
Sure.
And it's early days yet, I must agree, I must say. And so with the Act, we need to pass the LI, okay, the legislative instrument, which will now give full authorization to the Act. I think that unfortunately the challenges of COVID over the past year or so has slowed us down tremendously. But I hope that we can move forward with a gusto. But it involves getting everybody on board, everybody who has the knowledge and the capacity to support, to get out there. Some of us have been quite impatient, I must tell you. Yes. We have been quite impatient. We're not interested in low-hanging fruits.
No.
We spent 30 years fighting for this law. Some people don't know. It's taken 30 years, and people have died along the way, you know. And so we take it very, very seriously. And it's about people's livelihoods. This is the life that they've chosen. They've chosen this. This is their life. So they don't want anybody trivializing with it, playing around with it anymore. So we're not interested in low-hanging fruits and fanciful events with no substance. The film industry needs regulation. We don't want a situation where producers are taking advantage of performers and crew. We don't want that. People have to pay for their feeding, for their transport. They're taking money from them, costuming, costuming, and all of these things. All of these things have to be done in a collective bargaining agreement across industry stakeholders. And so we can fashion out the right rules and regulations. I don't see why, and I'm sorry, this is not an indictment on anyone, but I don't see why we have a law that has a film fund that is in there, in the law. It is not being activated, but $25 million is being committed outside of the law.
So who's going to regulate it? It doesn't make much sense to me that that will happen. It doesn't make much sense to me that we haven't put in the right rules and regulations and structures governing production of film, and then we're going to now spend 25 billion for productions to be produced in the same manner they've been produced in the past 30 years. It doesn't make any sense to me. So the law is there for a purpose. Let's put those structures in place so that we can make sure that the industry grows, and it's been designed so that at least government can also track the revenues, we can pay our taxes, and show that we are contributing to national development, and then we can make demands on government.
Righties, Best Actor for Big Man Wahala, that is you with that title. How did you land the role? Did it come from your beard? the new look?
I don't know why, but every time they call me Big Man. COVID has stopped Big Man thing. Your V8 was packed inside, I couldn't come out. So if you have forgotten so soon, remember, COVID has stopped Big Man syndrome.
Best Actor.
Yeah. I mean,
how did you feel?
Elated, humbled, because I was out of the industry for like 14 years. And so that was the first film I actually did when I came back into the scene. And a friend of mine, the director, producer, Dan Adokacha, we had discussed this script about 10 years earlier. And he had submitted it as a short film for a New York Film Festival and actually won.
Okay, wow.
And so we're thinking how we could expand it. And so down the line, he finally put himself together and said, hey, it's only you who can play this role. And I said, well, okay.
Sure.
But you see, that goes back to that divine favor.
Yes.
In this industry, if I go into an audition, I'm going into an audition with 100 people who want the same role. What makes it that I get it and somebody else gets it? With Igoli, I got to the audition late. They slammed the door in front of my face like this, and as I spoke, somebody heard that one of the producers heard my voice. They didn't know me.
I've been meaning to ask, as I sat across from there, did you even consider going into radio? Because radio is a big platform for people with such powerful voices as yours.
I had the opportunity when Radio Gold was first started. Babo Bafaboni, may his soul rest in perfect peace, approached myself, Sefa Kai, and Ekobedu. I didn't see myself as a radio person.
So it was TV for you?
It was TV for me.
So when the camera lights are off, who are you in private life? If we take away Inspector Bediako, who should we see? If we take the character away, who is the man that is left for us to see?
A very simple, very humble guy who really just wants to mind his own business, sit with the guys on the, you'll never find me like, I go to Tulip, we should go and eat. We go to Tulip for what?
There's a GBC canteen, Cafe Chinese.
No. My friends, they are watching, they know. We'll sit by the roadside, we eat together. I'm not into pretentious stuff. And no matter what you see
this is what
you perceive, those who know the real know me. I'm too down to earth, and I'm not bragging. But
I'm looking forward to seeing the new Inspector Bediako. When should we expect it? How far with that project?
Oh my God, we're trying to find sponsorship, and we're doing negotiations, with different sponsors.
Can GTV get first dibs?
I think we came here once a couple of years back, and I'm sure it's probably on the table.
It's still on the table.
So I'm looking forward to that, and I'm sure the whole of Ghana is. I think it's a flagship, iconic program that has contributed to national development and can do more. And I think more producers, more content providers should start doing more productions that talk about nation building. We've unfortunately had this Joker narrative, concert narrative. Everything is comedy. I used to fight it. But if you look at the level of stress in the system, we need more comedy.
We need to relax.
We need comedy.
When we ask people what their favorite programs are on GBC, Inspector Bediako always comes up as one of people's favorites. So people have watched you for years, and they are seeing you on GTV again after how many years? What do you have to say to those people who watched you with a black beard and are seeing you almost Santa Claus?
I'm extremely grateful for their love and their support all these years. I get amazed. People stop me and say, I became a lawyer because of you, the way you spoke English. I became a policeman. I became a custom officer and stuff like that. I'm thinking, like, but you guys cry. You okay?
Did I really do that much?
What did I do? I was just fooling on it.
What surprised you about the show?
How we, as creative people, have impacted the lives of people we do not know. So we should not take this job lightly. If you can inspire one person to move one level, one notch up their lives, you have done an amazing job. And that is what we need to concentrate on. And people need to make sure that they divide their artistic persona from their real persona. You know, and tragically, I think that many a time they've merged. And when we get into the public, we go back into our, you know, character. Our character. It doesn't garner respect. And our industry does not respect us. Our country does not respect us as industry people, as creative people. So you have to have it at the back of your mind that you have to hold yourself up, not necessarily as a role model, but have it in the back of your mind that you are an important piece of this jigsaw puzzle called life we're living in. If you don't value yourself, nobody will value you. So it's important we hold ourselves with dignity. I have tried to do so. Some people think it's about arrogance. They don't know where I'm coming from. It is to uphold that dignity and try and get that little respect from an industry that respects virtually none of us.
Awards are also about respect and peers recognizing you. No, you got an award. You got an award.
Awards in our industry have always come with controversy. I wish it hadn't been so, but I've seen with my own eyes the controversy.
Do you value the award that you got?
You know the award I value most?
Tell me.
The award I got from NAFTA, Best Actor 2 years in a row, from peers.
That's what I said. Yes, peers. Yes.
People
who know what.
But not people who are doing awards and you can bribe your way through. And there's no proper system, and you know. So yes, you can stack it up. But at the end of the day, it's really up to you.
I wish I had
only had 3 awards in my career.
Okay.
2 from NAFTA, and this one. And so I can't complain. I just hope that whatever I've done has been appreciated by those who view it. The rest is all about history.
His favorite song is
Guantanamera.
There you go. There you go. There you go.
But it goes with salsa. It goes with salsa. You have to dance.
If my mom is watching, I've got ducks.
You lost your dancing.
Otherwise, T would have given you some.
I love that song from childhood. My mom will always say it. I'm sure she's watching. And it is a song that is I'm sure if, you know, God forbid, but whenever it will happen, at my funeral they'll play that song. There are 3 songs they'll play.
Okay.
Yes.
Guantanamera. Okay.
Don't laugh. Okay.
No, we try.
Okay. Abeku.
That's a great song.
Fantastic. It's been so underrated. I can't believe it. I love it. It's a beautiful song. And the 3rd one is Dance with My Father Again.
Oh, Luther.
Okay.
That's a classic.
I played it at my father's
I mean, they're all
funeral.
classics.
And anytime
Okay.
they play it,
Yeah.
I always, you know, I just have tears in my eyes.
They
resonate with me.
Who's the star in the industry for you now? If you had to name your top picks, which name will be on the list?
You see, I unfortunately for me, I don't believe in this star business.
Oh.
You see,
so a promising figure that you think this person has.
We're called celebrities and we're called stars.
You said Ajete Anand.
Yeah.
He's my childhood crush.
Based on talent.
That's why you asked it.
based purely on talent.
I was hoping you would say.
You know, and we're called celebrities, we're called stars. Are we accorded same? Do we respect ourselves same? Is it about dressing up nice, going to functions, you know, and I want to be able to put food on the table for my family. So why are you calling me a star when I'm struggling to do that?
Thank you.
Nice.
You know, you can go and borrow cars and hire cars and pretend and pretend. Look, at the end of the day, you are in your little corner.
That's all.
But for us to get an ecosystem running for this industry where we are paid equitably, and when I'm talking, you see how you open your eyes wide. It's not only me I'm talking about. It's all of us. It's all of us. There's so much unfairness and inequity in our system. And so that's why it's important for the law to work, the Film Act, and for the broadcasting law to work. We all need to come together in our numbers, because without that you have no negotiation power. Absolutely none. So we're not just actors for acting's sake, we're advocates as well to ensure that the next generation get it far better than we do.
Thank you, Oscar. Thank you, Oscar.
Amazing.
Thank you for having this conversation and opening up, letting us see a side that we haven't seen before. Thank you.
Tears in my
He didn't get tears. A passionate man.
Time is our enemy right now. So thank you very much, Oscar, for your time.
And this man has known this man from childhood.
From Yonks.
You know, an amazing job you do.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Dylan Okanta Ankra, son of Ankra, today is your birthday. There's a big message from your daddy. Grow in grace and be a guiding lamp.
Happy birthday, Dylan.
And peers. So 12 years old today. We're going to end with an African proverb. People who pay respect to the great pave their own way for greatness. On that note,
we say bye-bye from all of us. Thank you so much. All those who send messages on our platforms using the hashtag GTV Breakfast, we appreciate you. And we'll come your way again tomorrow to serve you another breakfast a la carte.
All right. And from the great Oscar himself and all of us.
And all of us, everybody in studio. Bye.
Say you don't need to the God, no, you don't need to the phone. And you only need to let me know.